to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How is everybody doing tonight? Real quick, I want to give a shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming by, even though you missed the party. And it hasn't even happened yet. And I know it's a fantastic party we are about to have. So make sure that you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, so you can be part of the party. And, you know, sometimes I just pop up here whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, switch it to all notifications, and you will never miss a party. Also, really quick, just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of the stream, my6shirt.com. All these awesome shirts, whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own official Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right, welcome. Who we got in the building today? We got Lil Toes. What's good? Wesley's back. Hey. We got Call Me Touch CMT in the building. Welcome. Said Henry has to be the worst Christian debater I've ever heard. And he's bi? That goes against his belief. Unreal. Yep. But we are not talking about Henry today. Although we are talking about religion. We are talking about an atheist who is taking on an entire body of Christian students. And as you saw in the thumbnail, there is a twist at the end. So you will be heavily rewarded if you wait until that twist. Nokia Angel 2007 it says Jesus. Yes, I am the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the coming of common sense. Welcome to the party. So I don't want to give away too much information. I have already seen this, but I don't want to give away too much information. I don't want to spoil the surprise. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. As always, guys, you know, the sound can be sometimes not so great. So if you cannot hear the video, please just let me know. Let's do it.
I'm bringing my friend Shawn up to speak today. He's got his PhD in philosophy, and he teaches out in California at UCLA. And he had told me a while back that he was going to be here in Florida for a convention of philosophy at UM.
Hey, we got Iridium Kush in the building. Welcome, brother. Hey, we got, oh, Jesus, we got Chris as well. Welcome, guys. So glad you are here. This is going to be a fun one. Very glad you are here. So all that you missed so far is that there is a philosophy professor from UCLA coming to talk to these Christian students.
And I thought if you could come by and pretty much do what I do
Good on
with you
sound.
guys every week in apologetics class, and just press you on what you believe and why you believe it. But this time it's not just going to be someone pretending. And so I hope you guys are up for that challenge. He's going to share some of his story with you and then also take a few questions from you guys. So as he's sharing his story, have a few questions ready, maybe a few objections waiting, but pretend you're in my class at this moment, because it's going to kind of feel like apologetics in here to some degree, because again, we've got skeptics and believers.
So real quick, apologetics usually refers to people who are fighting against scientific ideas of Christianity in this case.
If you would give a great round of applause for my friend Shawn as he comes out.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is a unique opportunity. I teach at a school in Southern California at a university, so obviously work with university students normally. But when the opportunity came to come to a Christian school, which is obviously very different than where I teach at UCLA, I was like, sure, I'll share my story a little bit.
Slow this down.
And then we have 2 mics that'll roam around. You can ask me anything you'd like to ask me. So I teach philosophy, but I'm not a Christian. I didn't make this sign, but that's fine. Atheist encounter. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I grew up in a Christian home in Northern California, kind of outside of San Francisco.
He sounds like he's from California.
Hey man, I went to California and
Like Bart Simpson.
I used to go to church I went on mission trips. Where I live, mission trips would like go down to Mexico, help the kids who are less fortunate there.
Build a
I would
school.
read my Bible. I would share my faith. I even would get $10 tithing, or no, I get $10 allowance each week, and I would tithe like $1 in the allowance trade because that's what I was told, 10% to be a good Christian young man.
So just as we're starting this up here, I put up the poll, and so we have 71% of you believe in a god or a multitude of gods. I'm going to guess it's mostly Christians or just monotheistic people. But if you believe in multiple gods, I would love to hear from you. But interesting. So as off the rip, 2/3 of you, more than 2/3 of you, are believers.
I believe this story. But when I got to university, I started encountering people with very, very different worldviews who had ideas I had never thought about before and who were actually really smart in what they believed. And I had a conversation with a student. I was a freshman, and she pressed back and asked me a couple questions I had never thought about before as a Christian. My first thought was, well, this is what my pastor taught me. Well, this is what my parents taught me. This is what the Bible says. But then my fourth thought for me is what I would call a game changer. My fourth thought was, honestly, I really don't have a clue the answer to what you're talking about.
I would venture a guess. Just pulling numbers out. Well, we're still in the first 10 minutes, so let me not curse, but just pulling numbers out my tuchus. I would venture a guess that at least 65% of people who call themselves Christian have no idea why they believe what they believe, and probably a significant portion of those people don't even know exactly what they believe. They have this kind of vague idea of religion and God and sin and heaven and hell. But if you nail them down and ask them, what do they believe? Or more, what do you believe about this notion? What do you believe about this verse? What do you believe about this value? Not a clue.
I've just been told what to believe. I'm going to actually go research this, read both sides, and see where the truth leads.
That's exactly what happened to me. And you know what happened? Turned me into an atheist. And that is not, that is not a unique story. There are so many atheists who became atheists on their journey to get closer to God.
To make a long story short, after I started to read people of different worldviews, I came to the conclusion there's no good scientific evidence that God exists.
All right, so we're done.
There's no reason to think the Bible is true, let alone inspired.
Beautiful.
There's far too many contradictions and errors and mistakes in the Bible, not to mention things like misogyny, slavery, and genocide that come from a holy God.
Yeah, Chris is on point here. It says true because they base it on religion and those norms versus personal conviction. It's just pieces of what is presented as a whole worldview. It's just little pieces, and then you're left to fill in the rest, which would be a good thing if you were aware that you were supposed to be filling in the rest. But most people are not, and so they just don't know. Uriam says, what? You're asking people to explain themselves? Yeah. Somebody has something to say that doesn't make sense to me. I ask them to explain themselves.
And frankly, I'm not sure Jesus existed. He might have. But I think the Christian story is better explained as being patterned after these dying and rising gods of the ancient Near East. So I became an atheist. Now, I don't know, maybe some of you here are not Christians. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. I know what it's like in a community.
Remember, they're at a Christian school, so I don't know if I would raise my hand. I mean, I would, but I'm me.
Everybody else believes something different from you. So I wouldn't ask you to do that. But you could probably imagine if you stopped believing the things your parents and community believed, that would upset the apple cart, wouldn't it? Like, it wasn't easy to start telling people, hey, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. Many were disappointed disappointed in me. Then he thought like they had failed certain things. And I said, look, it's not
Yep.
your fault, mom and dad. And he blamed my Bible teachers. I just have to follow what's true. And I don't
That's
think
it.
Christianity is true.
That's it.
In fact, I think it's harmful and dangerous and damaging.
Ba, 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 ba.
I guess I look at it like this. I'm guessing in your English history classes, how many of you have studied like ancient Greco-Roman gods, like Zeus and Poseidon? You know these stories, right? Okay, good. Almost all your hands up. So, like when the ancient Greeks could explain something like, say, earthquakes, what do they say was the cause?
God.
The gods are
Angry.
right?
Hey, we got the Mikey story in the building. Ba, 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 ba. Welcome, buddy. Welcome. I said, what's up, bro? Let the knowledge bombs be dropped by me. Well, it might not be me. It might be our homeboy over here. What's his name? Shawn. I forgot his name. It's in the description. Or actually, yeah, it's in the description. But might be him. But I got you. I got you. Welcome, Mikey. Glad you are here.
They could explain something.
So really quick, if you're just joining us, this guy talking is a philosophy professor from UCLA talking to Christian students. That's all that you missed so far.
Like, say, rain. What did they say was the cause?
God!
The gods are crying. No, gods don't cry. The goddesses are crying. That joke actually worked before the Wonder Woman movies, but
Oh, I like the second part of that joke even better. What do they think the rain was? Not the gods crying, goddesses. Gods going to cry. That's funny enough. That joke worked a lot better before Wonder Woman. Oh, that's even funnier. I like this guy.
bottom line is, for the ancient Greco-Roman stories, they didn't understand why the ground moved. They lacked a scientific, natural explanation. So they inserted God as an explanation when they lacked a natural one. The problem with doing that is called God of the gaps.
Yep.
Is as science advances, what happens? Those gaps get smaller and smaller and smaller.
So you might hear me talk about the God of the gaps argument all the time because people use it all the time. It's basically just, oh, I don't know, therefore God. The idea that, like, oh, this beautiful flower, you think it just could become out of nothing? Well, I don't know. How do you propose that it came? Well, it must be God. That's not an argument. Well, it is an argument, but it's a bad one, and it's called the argument of God of the gaps.
Now, where people used to think God acted, we can now explain it naturally. I think this is true for miracles. I think this is true for the stories of Jesus, etc. I don't believe in the supernatural. Now, just so look, if Christianity was true, I would believe it. I teach philosophy, so I train people how to think, how to recognize good things, how to follow the truth, how to recognize bad things.
I would also like to second that. If anybody, this is a standing offer. If anybody can provide legitimate evidence that Christianity is a true record of history, not just the values, not just some of the stuff that happened, but the entire ideology comports with reality, or at least the main parts. The fact that Jesus is the Son of God, the fact that he was he died on the cross and was risen, he walked on water, the miracles, the bread and fish, and like any of that stuff. I am willing to comport my ideas with reality. And so if that is reality, just let me know. But so far, nor with me or anybody else who's been asking, has there been any legitimate empirical evidence.
So if Christianity were true, I would believe it. I'd love to believe in an afterlife.
Facts.
Kind of heavenly state. I just can't talk myself into believe something for which I don't find good evidence, and I find good evidence against.
Yep. I sorry to keep pausing, but that's another point of I was talking about I don't know, the last time we were talking about religion. That like, oh, what a luxury. What a luxury to believe that all of the events of this life on earth are nothing accept a proving ground, and that you get eternal bliss and paradise after this. I used to believe that, and I didn't even realize how luxurious that state of mind was. Because now, believing that this life is all we have, it makes death a much different thing. Now, it has also allowed me to see the beauty in the fleeting nature of life and all that stuff. But it's a very different worldview, and it's not as easy as thinking, oh, God's got it. You'll be good.
Now, I could keep talking about my classes, my life, but I actually think it'd be more interesting. Your beloved teacher told me that you have interactions where he kind of role plays different worlds.
Whoa.
What would you like to ask an atheist philosophy professor? And I'll do my best to respond. So if the two of you I see over there, Mr. O'Neill over here, if you hold your mic up, they'll just come follow you. Anything you want to ask a professor is fair game, and I'll do my best to respond. If you guys will spread out, we'll get as many questions as possible.
And this is exactly how you should be able to talk about your worldview, whatever it is, whether it's politics, whether it's dating, whether it's religion, whether it's culture, whether anything else. You should understand what it is that is in your own head. You shouldn't necessarily. I mean, maybe he did some reading. Maybe he, caught up on some Bible verses before this, but he doesn't know which question. I mean, assuming this is not all completely set up, which with the internet we never know, but we're going to assume that it's realistic. He's just fielding random questions, and so let's see how he does with that.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, Callie, bro. Well, okay, you got the captions there. Sorry, the audience sound isn't that great, but.
So I would like to know what you think about the world and its creation as a whole philosophically, and how the world is so fine-tuned to its creation, how something bigger or outside.
Okay, so I heard the first part. What do I think about the origin of creation? Read the second part through again very quickly.
So fine-tuning, right? I'm sure you know what that
Oh,
is.
fine-tuning.
So drop a 1 in the chat if anybody needs me to quickly go over what they mean by fine-tuning.
Yes.
Fine-tuning. So if the world was so specifically made, and we assume that a greater force out there had created it, what is your philosophical argument against that?
Okay, so let me jump in. So one is the question of, say, the origin of the universe creation. Now, I don't think the universe was created. I don't believe in creation because that word.
Hey, we got Division Plus in the building. Welcome, brother. Welcome. So fine-tuning is the argument that all of the features of the universe are such that it allows for people to exist. Gravity is, if gravity were higher, then we wouldn't be able to exist. If the oxygen levels were lower, we wouldn't be able to exist. If the radiation levels are everything is perfectly set up for human life. And in the God of the Gaps argument, Christians and other believers will argue that because the universe has all of these metrics perfectly fine-tuned for human life, that it must have been a God to twist those dials and to dial it in exactly as it is. And I'm going to let him answer. So that's fine tuning. Basically, if all of the factors of the universe go down the list, anything could be changed. If you turn up the gravity, if you turn down the level of atmosphere, the distance from the sun, any of those kinds of things, the universe is fine tuned for humans to be able to live on Earth.
Word implies a creator and a mind.
So I'm going to back that up. That's an important thing that he just said.
That word and think the universe was created.
So I don't think the universe was created.
I don't believe in creation because that word implies a creator and a mind. That's the very thing I'm not convinced that actually exists. So I actually think the data shows while our universe had a beginning, when you look at string theory, you'll find what's called the multiverse, And if you're following the shows like WandaVision and other in the Flash, like they toy in the
Multiverse of Madness.
multiverse in science fiction, but there's actually good.
What is this from?
Sorry if I ruined it. So
This is from February of last year.
You know who saved it?
I like this guy. He's funny.
The multiverse, I think string theory points towards that reality. So our universe had a beginning.
And again, guys, if there's something that specifically the guy, or really, if there's something that somebody brings up and they're like, I have no idea what that is, and I don't stop to explain it, just be like, hey, what is that? And I have no problem. And if I don't know, then we can look it up and learn together.
But I don't think the multiverse did. It's eternal. And
I'm gonna one more time because the
multiverse, I think string theory points towards that reality. So our universe had a beginning, but I don't think the multiverse did. It's eternal and it's always been here. There's reasons for that we can go into.
So Mikey says, it seems to me that some things he is talking about is subjective. Possibly. Is there possibly? I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. But yeah, some of this is not about objectivity, and some things just aren't objective. When it comes to morality, some people believe that it's subjective, some people believe that it's objective. But yeah, that's definitely true. Hey, we got Bullets for Teeth in the building. Welcome, man. Definitely go check out Bullets for Teeth's channel. Amazing MGTOW mentor and great content. Bullet says, Bigfoot does not require your belief to exist. Neither does Russell's teapot. Did you actually? I said that as a joke just now, but I do remember now that I asked you to look up Russell's teapot. Have you looked up Russell's teapot? Division Plus says this argument is only reasonable if there was only one Big Bang, but when you have multiple Big Bangs happening at infinity, the impossible odds become possible because infinity is included. Exactly. I think he's going to explain it a little bit better than I can, but if he doesn't, I'm going to come back to this comment because you are absolutely correct. Aliens also do not require your belief to exist. Ghosts also do not require our belief to exist. That also does not mean that something not requiring my belief to exist does not mean that it exists.
Fine-tuning, if this were the only universe that existed, then I think we would be surprised that it happens to be so seemingly exquisitely fine-tuned to allow life. But since it's not, and there's more probabilistic resources in the universe, I don't see why fine-tuning is a problem. In fact, if there is a multiverse, we wouldn't expect to find ourselves in a universe that's not fine-tuned because we could live in such a universe. We'd expect to find ourselves in the very kind of universe that we do find ourselves in.
And so that's the easiest answer to that question. Obviously, humans can't exist in a universe where humans can't exist. All that fine-tuning stuff, if we have, as Division Plus was talking about, if there is universes ad infinitum, and every one of them is slightly different, then it's impossible for there not to be a universe where the tuning is as such. And if that is the case, there's an infinite number of universes with an infinite number of fine-tuning and whatever. And yeah, Bullets for Teeth on point, different planes of existence. And so all of that is happening simultaneously. And so we just happen to be in this reality, in this universe, in this, where else would we be if we couldn't be in a universe that didn't allow humans to exist? Yeah, no, definitely agree with that. No argument here. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. Yep. Mikey says, were you always liberal in your thinking, or was there a moment that made you change the way you see things? So interesting question, because I don't. I'm assuming you're talking about like classically liberal in the sense that not necessarily like how we would talk about liberal politics today. But to answer your question, I very much was that type of liberal for a long time. I call myself a 2015 liberal. And I don't think there was a huge there was one big moment that really kind of changed things for me. And I don't really feel like I've changed that dramatically, except for the specific aspect of the existence of God. The values that I that I acquired growing up through church and the Bible and other believers and all that stuff has stayed with me. It's just slight changes as I continue to learn more and I continue to question my beliefs. I continue to question my worldview. It's a constant, gradual change. So I wouldn't say there was a moment, but there's definitely some big moments. For example, I can credit Steven Crowder for two big changes in my thinking. One when it comes to I was super anti-gun back in the day. But then Steven Crowder did a Change My Mind segment about guns, and I realized that I didn't know anything about guns. And he recently reposted the segment where he's on a campus, two liberal girls come up to argue about how we need gun control and da-da-da-da. And he asked, like, we need background checks. Like, yeah, we got that. And so he takes the two girls, like, have you ever purchased a firearm? They're like, no. And so he takes the two girls and brings them to a shooting range, gets them familiarized with a couple different types of guns, go through the process. And that showed me that, like, oh, I don't know anything about this. I need to look more into that. And as I did, I understood the reasoning why people are very passionate about the Second Amendment. Hey, we got No Freedoms in the building. What is up, brother? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, JR is here as well. We got this party started. Real quick to go back to Mikey's question, though. The second thing was the Smush Martian issue. I used to be completely and utterly pro-life. Or excuse me, I used to be completely pro-choice, full stop. Now, I am still, when it comes to voting, I am still pro-choice. I don't want the government to be able to tell individuals what to do with their bodies, whether that's a jab or anything else. But I do now understand that there is no place in the development of a human being to start life other than conception. I used to say, like, viability, heartbeat. These are all arbitrary things that you can decide that that's, before that moment, that what you're growing in your body is not a human. But that's just a thing that you say. So those are two things that changed me, and those were moments that I had to. That was from another Change My Mind segment. I really had to question, like, I don't believe that. Am I wrong? And the answer was yes. And Freedom says, I don't believe in that type of science, just like I didn't believe pills stop depression as they say it did, or etc. So what do you mean? I don't know what you mean in type of science. Science is a process. Science is not a that is very true. But science is a process. It is a way to measure the world in whatever context. So when you say that type of science, there's only one science. Now, when it comes to softer sciences and newer sciences like psychology, then yeah, we get a lot of things wrong because it's a constant process that is constantly improving itself. So you start with not really knowing much and figuring out basic things like, okay, this drug can kind of do this, but it has a lot of crazy shit that comes with it. And then over the years, I mean, this is taking out the factor of, big pharma being big pharma. But legitimate medical science exists to better those treatments. And so I hear you on the antidepressants. I personally was suggested to go on antidepressants and said, no, I won't. But that was more because I had already had experience abusing anxiety medication and knowing that even with all the risks that come along with medications like that, benzodiazepines, that was what was best for me. So that was just more anecdotal than anything else. But yeah, the science is science. There is only one such thing as science. You can have good science, better science, and bad science, but science is a process, not a belief or anything like that. So let's back up a couple seconds, see where we left off.
We wouldn't expect to find ourselves in a universe that's not
Fine-tuning.
fine-tuned because we couldn't live in such a universe. We'd expect to find ourselves in the very kind of universe
Exactly.
we do find ourselves in.
Anybody
So
else?
again, I have no power here. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, I don't think specifically on the virtue of creator creation. So whether or not we see it as God or something else, I just don't understand where you're coming from in the sense that thinking that this world is being created, whether that be this universe or the multiverse as a whole.
Well, I don't think the universe had an end. The multiverse. That's really what I mean by universe. I don't think it had a beginning. Hence, it doesn't need any cause outside of the universe. Now,
So we'll revisit that. So Division Plus says, for the people confused, imagine you play the lottery, but the odds to win are low. If you play the lottery with an infinite amount of time, then the chances of winning become possible at one moment you win. And that's not to go a step further. If you have an infinite amount of ability to play the odds, eventually you have to win. Now, this is a theoretical exercise. Obviously, you don't have an infinite amount of time, and that's not how the world works. But theoretically, that's how that would work. Yep. Mikey says, if you were on the Joe Rogan show, what would you like to question him on that you feel needs to be addressed? That's a good one. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to sit on that. We'll come back to this. We'll come back to this. I'm not sure. That's a good question, though.
if you say that the universe needs a creator, then why would the creator need a creator? Why could the creator just exist, but the universe can't?
This often goes to the infinite regress, where exactly as he said, people will make the argument that the universe can't just come from nothing. You can't get something from nothing. Okay, fair enough. I don't know how you know that. I don't know what you've ever experienced of nothing to know what can or can't happen, but logistically, fine, that makes sense. But then they say God just existed. So why is it that God can just exist without a creator, but the universe can't exist without a creator? Bullet said, yeah, so I'll let you guys have your
That would
conversation.
be my question. So if you're going to be consistent, either they both need some kind of cause,
Right.
or they both just exist. You believe God just exists. I believe the universe just exists. So minimally, we're at an end. Good
Exactly.
question. Anybody else?
What would you guys ask?
Any others? Spread out, even while they're
So-
talking.
So
One up
Mr.
top in
Stewart
there.
was supposed to be the downstairs guy, but I guess I'll get both.
What would you guys want to ask
Try
him?
to get in as many as we can, so keep your hands up, and they'll come to you.
Especially if you are a Christian. What would you ask?
So you said earlier you weren't even sure if Jesus was a real person. I'm not talking about like if he was God or like fitting. Like you said, you weren't sure if he was real.
He might have been. I think the evidence is late and contradictory and legend still. So I'm not fully convinced.
So the legend still would that be like the Roman who believed in like his gods and everything else he blasphemed and he hated everything. Even him saying that he was a real person is based on legend. That's fine.
Wait, Jesus saying he's a real person would be legend?
No, so the Roman saying Jesus existed and Jesus was a person.
Well, there's no good early Roman source that does.
Josephus.
Josephus was Jewish, for one.
It was Roman history.
I actually think that doesn't really matter. Because if Josephus was a reliable person, I don't know who Josephus is, but if this was a reliable person, at least in the context of history, not necessarily religion, then whether he was Jewish or Roman doesn't really matter, because we just want to know whether Jesus was real or not. Hey, we got Douglas Edwards, new to the channel. Welcome, 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 brother. Glad to see you. We have a what we're doing here. We have an atheist professor from UCLA talking to a bunch of Christian students, and is just talking about, hey, do you want to ask me anything? And he's got they're having the back and forth about different things in the church, but there's a twist at the end. So I'm very glad you are here, and hope you will stay to the end to see the twist.
Second.
But yeah, I don't think, whether the guy was Jewish or Roman, if he was a reliable source as a person, then I don't understand why that matters.
He was writing for Rome, but he was not Roman. Josephus was Jewish. Josephus mentions 33 people by the name of Jesus. 33 people. Have you read the Antiquities of the Jews? I've not read that yet. Okay, so listen.
You are in the right place, Douglas. Welcome again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Do me a favor. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Thank you very much. Oh, Iridium's got a question for him. So I have a question for him. From this group's point of view, what is your opinion of the Virgin Mary? Oh, I missed another question too, so I'll go back to that in a second. So I'll act because I am an atheist. I will act as the atheist, and you guys can act as the students. So if it's to me, what is my opinion of the Virgin Mary? She was not a virgin. She belonged to the streets. And Joseph, homie, she lied to you, bro. She lied. She got digged down. Virgin Mary got digged down. Oh wait, there's another one too. Mikey said, how do you equate what this guy is talking about to the book called The Secret? So The Secret is a book that was popular, I think, in like the early to mid 2000s, and has to do with the law of attraction. This is where Oprah was big on this, where you have your vision board and you cut out magazine pictures and you put it up on a plasterboard thing, and by manifesting it, by thinking about things, you can manifest it. This is what we call woo woo. This is the lowest level of it, but you take this type of stuff, The Secret, the law of attraction, and you can build it up to guys like Deepak Chopra, who's a very intelligent guy, but also just spreads woo woo. And we'll talk about the same type of stuff where if you just think about it, you can manifest it. And he uses the fact that most people, do not understand quantum physics, how quantum physics work. He will take things like the observer effect, where very simply, there is an experiment you can do where you can send a particle of light so you can send a particle of light through something that would look like that, right? So it's one particle of light. And so if you, something like if you measure it where it's going through, then the particle of light can only go through one of the slots at a time. But if you don't measure it, then theoretically, the particle can be in both places at one time. And so there's stuff like that that's okay. Most people don't understand the actual physics of how that works. So he turns that and adds in his bullshit religious stuff and makes it seem like, just like The Secret, if you think about something, it will turn it into truth. And so I think this is right on par with Christianity. I think that people are just more familiar with the silliness of Christianity. And so when it comes to something like The Secret or Scientology or even Mormonism, because those are new, they're like, oh, that's silly. That's crazy. But, a man in the sky who sent his only son that walked on water and made, that's, of course. So Ridium said, are your views on Islam, Buddhism, same as Christianity? Yes and no. So as much as I know a lot more about Christianity than I do any of the other two, I like the fact that Buddhism is not a theistic religion. So there's just like I've always talked to you guys about how we want to bring these Judeo-Christian values to the forefront of our society, just not with the divinity aspect, the supernatural stuff. And so I've actually got a Buddha tattoo right here, and it says "Follow your bliss." It's from a Census Fail song, but so I have a lot of respect for the values in all of them. But at the end of the day, the notion of any of these figures being anything other than human is simply not has not been proven. So in that sense, yes, I do think that all of these belief systems are essentially the same. The fact that they have different values, those are the differences. Whatever they say that is different. But as a belief system, yeah, all the same.
I would encourage you to read it. It's like saying somebody referred to Mike or John today. Jesus was a very common name in the Jewish world because it refers to Joshua, like a savior. But yeah, he refers to a bunch of people by the name of Jesus, but that's hardly reference to the historical biblical Jesus. Second reason I don't trust Josephus is in Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 18. Josephus allegedly refers to Jesus as risen on the third day,
He wishes,
crucified, performing miracles and being the Messiah.
unless he'd rather be with Joseph.
Would any Jew believe that? The answer is no.
Nope.
Jew by religion. Josephus is not quoted for the first 8 centuries of the church. It's not, in fact, really the 10th century that any church historian quotes Josephus, because the passage that allegedly refers to Jesus was tweaked and interpolated and not actually written by Josephus.
Boom. Got him.
Yeah. Hey, good question. That's okay. I appreciate your thinking. You guys are wrestling with these ideas here. I commend you for that. Go ahead.
Actually, and I want to say the same to you guys here. And I'm not being, cheesy. It might sound cheesy, but I do commend you guys. The fact that when we started, I don't know how many of you are still here or new from when I put up the poll of how many of you are Christians. But when we started, 71% of those of you watching were believers. So I want to commend you guys for coming here and knowing that we're going to be talking about this stuff, questioning this stuff, and just being willing to engage with it. So thank you.
So I have a question about the universe. So you said that the universe wasn't created, but how do you know that it wasn't created if we know that it is constantly dying? Like we know that universe is expanding, right? So and energy is failing every second. So, like how do you know that it is
Spit it out.
his microphone here?
Yeah, it's the microphone. It's not your inability to speak. I mean, granted, it's probably a second language, but this is why I watch on 2x speed.
How do you know that it's endless if the universe is constantly dying?
Okay, let me jump in for a second. Because the echo makes it kind of hard to hear, state your question distinctly and clearly. And the first one was,
That was his version of saying, "What the fuck did you just say, bro?"
if the universe is expanding, wouldn't it have had a beginning? Well, there's 2 things that can be said to this. Number one is there's good reason to believe we have an expanding and a contracting universe, kind of like a xylophone. And how would we believe this? Because as we look out further into the universe, we see red-shifted stars, which tell us on the longer wavelength of light that the universe is expanding. We also have some blue-shifted stars,
Shout out to
tells us
TLA.
that there's also contraction. So yeah, the universe is expanding, but I think it's also contracting as well.
But But if it's expanding, shouldn't it be from the one point? Like from single point.
Yeah, that's the
It
Big
should
Bang.
expand from somewhere.
Why did the universe have to come from something? Then you have to ask that question for God. Where did God come from?
Mm.
It should come from
So another thing I want you guys to pay attention to is as the students are asking questions, before he gives an answer, I want you to think about whatever the question is. I want you to think about whether you think it's a good question, and whether you think that it's something that you like. Are you glad that somebody asked that question? Have you ever heard that question? Do you expect him to have an answer to this stuff? That's where I want you guys to be thinking, because especially if you are a believer, hey, that's fine. But if you are in search of the truth and care about reality, then thinking in this way is necessary. So that was a bad question because he already knows the answer. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that. But being in a simulation, yeah, that is infinitely more likely than a God existing, because it doesn't break the laws of physics. And if humans are ever to get to the point where we can have a legitimate simulation where those in the simulation can't tell that they're in a simulation, then we have then the you got base reality, and then anybody can make a simulation there. So you got millions of people with computers who can make their own simulations. And then theoretically, if those simulations are good enough that the people inside the simulation can make their own simulations, now you got dimensions and dimensions and layers of simulations ad nauseum. And so if that is the case, then the probability that we are in the one base reality instead of one of the millions, billions, trillions, whatever simulations is infinitesimally small. Does faith require an answer? I'm not sure I get the question. Does faith require an answer? Faith is accepting a claim without empirical evidence. So does that require an answer? I don't think that's a sensible question. I don't know. Can you try to rephrase that? So just because a question is asked and it's answered doesn't mean it's accepted. For me, it does. I think anything that I think it should. It doesn't for a lot of people, but it should. In the same way that faith isn't inherently a bad thing. I have faith that when I sit down in front of this computer and I have everything set up and I go live, that you guys are going to show up. I have faith. I don't know whether or not you're going to show up, but that faith isn't blind faith. That faith is based on the evidence that you guys come through for me every single stream. A lot of you haven't missed a stream in months. I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. But the point is that the question, does faith require an explanation, depends on faith in what? Do I have faith in you guys? Yes. Does that require an explanation? I don't think it requires an explanation. It certainly has an explanation. The explanation that, hey, every time I hop on here, these dudes are always here coming to check out what I have to say. So, that's my best answer to that. So you answered yourself here. Layer 1, layer 0, that whatever the real actual organic reality would be. So anything that's a simulation is a layer beyond that. So are you saying what I was just saying is hope and faith is different? What's the difference between hope and faith? Or rather, how is what I said hope and not faith? Because I do hope that you guys are here. I don't have faith that any one one of you guys particularly, like Little Toes, I don't necessarily have faith that you will be here in any given stream, because sometimes, you know, you guys got shit to do. You guys, it's not all of you who are here every stream. And I do hope that people show up. But again, it's just, do you believe in God? No, I don't hold that belief. Do you believe that when you sit in front of your computer, that people will show up? Yes, I do believe that. I also hope that, but I do believe that. So belief and faith are going hand in hand. Mikey says, but if an answer doesn't make sense to you, do you accept it as an answer that you're satisfied with? Well, of course not. Of course not. That's what all these arguments and these these logical fallacies, that's where they come from. They're explanations in the sense that people are saying words and trying to justify whatever it is. But if it's a bad argument, then no, it has to be logically sound and valid. And then if you're trying to prove the existence of something, there needs to be some type of empirical evidence. Bullet said, Jesus said, "Whoever shall believe in me shall be saved. Thus, if I have faith that I am saved through Jesus, what more do I need?" So are you familiar with Pascal's wager? This is Pascal's wager. Are you believing in Jesus just to make sure that you don't end up in hell? Or do you actually believe? Do you think God would know the difference? Yeah, that's what being directly ignorant is, knowing that somebody is explaining something to you that doesn't make sense, but accepting it anyway. That's ignorance.
Somewhere, like we can't deny that the universe was created and then it started to expand and grow up.
I would, if there was any proof or any evidence that that ever happened in the first place. How do you know that anybody turned the sea into wine? Bullets G said, "I actually believe with all my heart and being." That's great. So then, if you have genuine belief, then what does being saved have to do with whether or not you believe? If you believe it's true, you believe it's true because it's true, not because you're going to be saved. You believe that you are going to be saved, but that's not why you believe. And again, I say, if it is why you believe, not, yeah, I mean, Bullet said that's not why he believes, but general you, anybody, if that's if that's why you claim to believe, then I think you and God would know the difference. Like I said, how do you differentiate a logical answer from an answer that's just an opinion? Well, you have to understand how logic works in the first place. So if you, this is why we talk about syllogisms. And so the syllogism is a way of presenting a claim with premises. So you would have premise 1. All dogs have tails. Premise 2. Morty over here. Where'd he go? Oh, he's hiding from the rain. So Morty down here, my dog, he has a tail. Conclusion, Morty is a dog. Now that is sound logic. Or excuse me, that's valid logic. But is it a sound argument? No. Because what about a cat? A cat can have a tail. Cat's not a dog. So this stuff all it follows. If all of now, if I were to say all dogs have tails, premise 1. Premise 2, Morty is a dog, then the conclusion can be that Morty has a tail because all dogs have tails. So that's how you just have to follow the logic. You have to listen to what people say and understand what it is that they what argument they're making. And then you can determine, okay, that is a rational logical answer. Even if it is an opinion. You're allowed to have opinions. But if you think that if you think that trying to think of the most random thing. If you think dogs are horrible animals because one time somebody got bit by a dog when they were slap it in the face, then you're allowed to have that opinion. But that's not a logical justification for your position. And so again, you can hate dogs all you want, but that's not going to convince me to hate dogs. That's that yeah. I mean, it's just understanding how logic works in the first place. And Freedom says after reading and listening to listening to the religions, I find that I don't know what that says. Maybe I don't know what it is.
Point.
I'm not sure I'm fully tracking, maybe because of the sound.
No apologies necessary,
We have
man.
reasons.
Glad you are here. Any moment that you are here. Radium says the principles of any faith are to be used as a reference guide, not a blueprint to life. That's not what the Bible says. That's not what the Quran says. So, ugh. Jimmy Dean, resident sausage in the building, says you're allowed to have opinions as long as those opinions are perfectly aligned with mine. Wow, wow. Oh, come on, we're doing so good.
The universe is expanding and contracting.
I never said you were trying to convince me of anything. I'm just saying I am not convinced of the thing that you are saying. That is how this works. We're talking about a claim. And so the claim is, do I accept it or do I not accept it? Why am I accepting it or not? Why should I accept it or why should I not accept it? That is the whole conversation.
If there was a beginning to this, you're still only dealing with our universe, not the multiverse. So it doesn't get us all the way to an explanation that would require God. That's my question. Good. All right. I see a hand down here. I see a few in the back. Again, just if you don't mind, get as quickly to your question and distinctly as you can, please.
So, earlier when you were addressing Madison's question,
Let's take while we're talking. Go ahead and pull your mask off so we can hear it.
so earlier while you were
Beast!
addressing Madison's question, you noted that the multiverse had to be an eternal type thing in order for the beginning of our universe to be created. So, going off of that, do you believe that the components of something created needs to be in that which created it? So, like,
Real quick, to be fair, Division Push, I was the one who brought up being convinced. I'm not saying that anybody is trying to convince me. I'm saying I am not convinced, meaning I am not I've not been moved to take a position.
for example, with the creation of our world, we have intellectual minds. And from that, with the multiverse, how did the intellectual minds come, like, initiate or develop through something that didn't have that property?
Okay, so if I understand, you're asking the question of consciousness. How did a universe that seemingly at the beginning was physical do things like minds emerge through that process? Did I capture your question?
She's asking about
Okay,
consciousness.
good. So yes, the universe is physical. Wait, don't leave yet, because she might want to follow up. But there's certain capacities for what are called emergent properties at the right level of complexity and diversity to emerge. So take, for example, hydrogen and oxygen. They're two physical molecules or elements. You put them together and you have water. Now, a new property emerges called wetness. It doesn't exist just in hydrogen, doesn't exist just in oxygen, but somehow when these two physical properties emerge, you have these two elements emerge, you have this new property develop out of it. I think the same is true when it comes to the emergence of consciousness. That at a certain level of complexity, this new element, it's an epiphenomenon of consciousness, emerges like wetness. And what's interesting is you look throughout the evolutionary history of our world, and you can see simpler organisms aren't really conscious, but there's a basic awareness of pain. And then you have consciousness. And then you have self-consciousness. You have this complete increasing complexity go on as the evolutionary story unfolds.
Boom. Boom. Question answered. Let's see. Where did we leave off here? Mikey says, faith is the evidence of things unseen. Is it's based on what you believe will happen before it happens. Faith is the accepting of a claim without proper evidence. If you had the proper evidence, it wouldn't be faith, it would be knowledge. If you had the evidence, it wouldn't be faith. You wouldn't need faith in God if we could all see him. You would just know that God exists. You don't need to have faith that I am a real person because I'm here, you're seeing me right now. You have the evidence to see that I'm a real person and I'm interacting with you. So I don't really know where to I don't know if that answers your question. Radium says, do you consider the 10 Commandments, for example, to be a good guideline to one's life, even if you are an atheist? I mean, I don't think it's a bad list, but when the first 4 are just about have no other gods, and I don't really see a problem with coveting your neighbor's wife as long as you don't fuck her. So, I mean, I've been just backing up a little bit with broader, not necessarily the 10 Commandments, but the broader values of the Judeo-Christian faith. Yes, I do believe religion contains some great ways to live your life. I just don't think that it is enough to be the only source, and there's too much in there that is, in my opinion, complete and utter BS. Bullet says, considering that our own U.S. legal system is rooted in the 10 Commandments, absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah. Ultimate consciousness. Mikey said, this guy is the prince of lawn stroking. Explanations, but I get what he's saying. Well, these are complex questions, and they have complex answers. If you want to go down the rabbit hole of this stuff, and you actually want to figure out what it is that we're talking about, and what it is that happened, then it's not just yes or no questions. You got to kind of, well, this happens, and that's why that happens, and I believe that because that happens, and if you put that and that together, it's more than surface level, Douglas says, I am the proper evidence. I'm a new creation. Aren't we all, brother? Bullet says, just because you cannot see something does not mean it does not exist at all. You're coming from it from the wrong way. I agree with you. I agree. Just because you cannot see something does not mean it does not exist. So now take that instance. That notion. Something can exist even if you can't see it. Does that mean everything that you can't see exists? Of course not. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But if you can't see it, hear it, touch it, smell it, observe it, then how do you know that it exists? Maybe. Thank you, Douglas. I respect your point of view. We all respect each other around here. Well, we try. Well, it says take the James Webb Space Telescope. It sees an infrared. These images still have to be colorized so we can see them more clearly. Okay. Well, it says, can we go over schizophrenia one day? Because it's really cool and interesting and awesome and cool. Sure, we definitely can. Douglas says, just the way we're perceiving the evidence, I think, needs to change. Exactly. It's not about can you it's not about believing and seeing necessarily. It's about having the default of being skeptical. Because again, going back to Russell's teapot, you can't see Russell's teapot. How do you know that Russell's teapot doesn't exist? Reading, talking to each other. So that's already done, motherfucker. Thank you. But that's why I think you guys are looking at it. Those of you who are looking at it backwards. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. Sure. But just because there are things that exist that you can't see doesn't mean that everything that you can't see exists.
All right, we're gonna jump up here. Go ahead.
If you don't follow an afterlife or sort of meaning of life right now, sort of greater purpose, where do you personally and where do you suggest others find vocational motivation?
That's a good question.
You good, bro?
Let me answer this in a couple ways. I would presume, correct me if I'm wrong, you believe purpose is top down. That God has made this world, He infuses it with purpose, and we find our purpose in God in some fashion.
Well, what else could it be?
Is that fair?
Fair, yeah.
Okay. I think purpose comes from the bottom up. I don't think
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
the grand design. But as we look at this amazing story of evolutionary history, we have things like friendship, we have good food, we have knowledge, we have freedom. These are all good things that give our lives purposes, even if there is no God that exists. And I think as we look at human beings across different cultures, we find this common recognition that our lives can be purposeful, even if there's no afterlife, that they differ about God.
So before we jump on to the rest of the questions, I just want to address that aspect of having purpose and God's plan and all that kind of stuff. I think it's one of the most freeing things about getting away from theism is the freedom to understand that there's nobody who's giving my life purpose. There's nobody who is injecting calling there's no universe calling out to me, and I am the one who has to figure out what I'm here for and make the best of my time here, because I don't know if there's an afterlife. There may be. You guys might be completely right, but I have not been convinced of that. And so this life is the only life I believe in, because that's the only life I have seen to be real. Well, it says it's one thing to ponder who created the universe, but even science has yet to wrap its puny gray matter. What are you watching on right now? A phone or a computer? Silly science. But even science has yet to wrap its gray matter around the vast expanse of the cosmos. Even they do not know exactly what it is, or its origins or boundaries. Correct. And your point is, what does this have to do with God? There's lots of things we don't know. Remember, we talked about God of the gaps. We don't know what created the universe. Therefore, it must be God. That is not a logical argument. You are free to believe whatever you like, but that is not how logic works. You brought up aliens. How do you know aliens didn't create Earth? Just because we don't know something doesn't mean it's God. Well, again, so it says if time is malleable, then we're all fucked in our brains. Yeah. Scientists have little faith if space-time exists. Do you mean they have to have a little faith? If you mean they have to have a little faith in the sense of, talking about theoretical physics and stuff, yes, you are correct. But faith in what? And why do they have faith in it? Do they have calculations that have been being calculated for decades that can predict where things in the universe will be? Is it the same thing for me to have faith in God, to have faith that at least some people will show up to a live stream? Are those the same level of faith? Animals and birds can sense when an earthquake or volcanoes go off. Their senses are highly tuned in more than humans. So how come they can't? Why didn't God give us those? Or why don't birds know about God? Douglas says, I hear your point, man. These are questions I continue to have, even as a believer. There you go, buddy. I mean, these are questions I continue to contend with as an atheist. These are things that we should continually be thinking about. This we don't have the answers. We don't have the answers. So we want to keep thinking about it. Hey, we got Mr. Pliskin. Welcome. Since it's a different dimension, it very well might be. Welcome to the party. Welcome. I hope you're trolling. I hope you are trolling, motherfucker. I hope you are trolling. Because I don't know, but that don't mean it's God. Antarctica pics and a lot of pictures from space are fake or edited like crazy. Again, I'm not really talking about space. My point is that an atheist knows little, yet he attacks those with faith that God will present to him the answers as needed. Accept the things you can change, not the ones you can't. I do. I absolutely accept that. The point is, you don't know any more than I do. You are the one making claims that you know. I am the one saying I don't know. You are the one saying that you have the answers you do not have. I have accepted that I can't know whether there's a God or not. You are the one who is attacking my faith. I'm simply addressing ideas. Attack ideas, not people. Douglas says the idea that faith in God is counter to logic. I would make the argument that we have a culture of secular humanists saying there are infinite genders. So there is also counter to logic. Well, nobody said that being an atheist means that you know all of the things ever. You can be an atheist and also a moron. Being an atheist just means I do. The question is, do you believe in a God or gods? And my answer is not yet. So there's other people who are woke leftists who are, in the gender bender society. Sure. But again, that has nothing to do with the existence of God. That's not how it works.
So, say if everything dies, if everything eventually will end, then why continue?
Why continue at all? Because I don't win in the end.
How do you know this? How is it that you came to know that this is the truth and not just your opinion?
Okay. Think about it this way. How many football players do we have here? At least your hands. See hands. Football players. Okay. If we said tomorrow we're having a scrimmage against the Kansas City Chiefs, even though you're going to lose, actually, they got smoked. You might beat them. Let's go with the Buccaneers. Okay. You're going to play the Buccaneers. Is there any chance you're going to win? The answer is no. You effectively have zero chance of winning, maybe negative chance.
Douglas, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Cheers to you. And JR, cheers to you as well with that JD. What comment did I miss? What are you talking about? I put all these up. What the fuck are you talking about? All right. So yeah, the situation they're talking about is the idea of if you play football, you have the opportunity to play the Bucks, and you have zero chance of winning, and you say maybe a negative chance.
How many football players would be like, I don't care. I get to get on the field with Tom Brady and with the Buccaneers. I'm playing anyways. How many of you would still play because you want to get on the field with those guys? Right? That'd be awesome.
Well, it does. You're trolling, right? You're trolling, right? In case you're not, okay. Why is it that I should use the Bible as the defining book that I should follow?
So even though you can't win, so to speak, in the end, it doesn't mean that experiences are not valuable. In fact, I would actually say, as an atheist, my life is finite, it's not infinite.
Yup.
So I think this life has more value.
I think this life has more value because this is all I have. And now this dude might believe affirmatively that there's no afterlife. I don't know how you, him, or anybody else would know that. Never been dead. Never talked to anybody who's been dead. But that doesn't change the fact that we don't know, him and I. Well, again, neither of us. But he and I acknowledge that we don't know. And that puts so much more value on the life that we're living right now. So it says, what if I told you I'm super strong? What if fact my evidence of super strength was, and this is not English. Bullets, at least the questioning of religion has advanced us in understanding and understanding reality and experimenting with it. Medicine, engineering, technology, etc. Yep. As time goes on, we do not see religions of any sort being further proven. It just becomes more and 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 more debunked as time goes on. So yeah, right now we have no idea what happened, what caused the Big Bang. We don't even know what happened in the first minute. What happens when we figure it out? He was talking about the rain. What did people think the rain was? The God's crying. But then we learned about evaporation and condensation. And so now we don't think that God is crying, or the angels are crying, or whatever. How so? The Bible is evidence of God as much as a Spider-Man comic is evidence of Spider-Man. The Bible's true because the Bible said it was true. That's what we call a tautology, circular logic. You know, the people who, when you say, what is a woman? I'm like, well, anybody who identifies as a woman. That's this. That's what I was thinking, JR. Well, it says, because the Bible is said to contain the actual words of God. Whether you choose to believe that, their actual word of God is on you. So it's not about, it's not a choice. There is no choice. Belief is not a choice. If I had the choice, I would believe. Unfortunately, because the Bible sucks, I was forced out of my belief. I started believing it. I started wanting to believing it more. But then I read it. That's the point. You're just saying things. You're saying, well, it is the word of God. Okay, how do you know that? How do you know that? Or again, I've started phrasing the question differently. How can I verify that? I want to believe. How can I get to the same level of understanding that this is the truth that you are? How can I do that? What is the what is the process of yeah, exactly. What is the process of understanding that?
So I don't get this morning back. I don't think I live for infinity, and I spent it with you guys. That tells me I think there's something important about thinking and relationships and growing. So not believing in God, I think actually makes life more purposeful and meaningful.
Nope.
Over here, I want to make sure people can follow up with their questions as well. I don't want to filibuster here.
So while we got the opportunity, So yeah, no, I don't believe that free will exists. I don't think that it is a sensical situation or a notion. There's free will doesn't make sense. It's a thing that we think we have, but it doesn't make sense. Well, I'm having a great time. I don't know what you're talking about. I am going in several different directions. We were talking about a bunch of different things. Yup. Determinism. There's physical and chemical reactions. That's it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So the Bible contains hundreds of prophecies fulfilled after they were written,
Does it though?
even being fulfilled like as of now in the 21st century. How is that be possible with how the omniscient God?
So give me one example of a prophecy you think, like the virgin birth or something, or what?
No, like the measuring of Israel in that time.
Which one?
Measuring of Israel in the end time.
So okay, we can't deal with something in the end times
No, like
if it hasn't been fulfilled yet.
well, it's being fulfilled now.
So give me an
Is it
example of a
though?
prophecy prophesied ahead of time that was distinctly fulfilled that you think is supernatural.
I mean, you could go with the birth of Jesus or the crucifixion.
Birth of Jesus or the crucifixion of Jesus? Okay, let's go to the birth of Jesus. Okay, so you started there. When that prophecy was written according to you, before Jesus came in the scene, in the book of Micah, correct? It is correct. So
Know your shit, people.
Jesus claims to be the Messiah. Would he have been aware of this prophecy? Yeah.
I mean, I guess so, yeah.
Well, of course he was. Right? In Luke chapter 2, Jesus knew the law so well, even the leaders reflected upon this. Okay? I don't think Jesus is real. I'm telling the story from your perspective. Jesus would have known this prophecy. So if he's trying to proclaim himself as the Messiah, do you think by the time he's 33, 3 decades removed from this, he would start telling people that he's from the area of Bethlehem, and later followers who believe this would start telling that as well? The answer is of course. So I would need some actual proof that he's from that area and didn't invent this like he did other prophecies to believe it's really supernatural. And the evidence that Jesus is from Bethlehem outside of the Gospels only emerges in the 3rd century, 300 years removed. So I don't buy it.
Me neither. So where do we go? So Iridium Kush asks, how does free will not make sense? Let's go back to the ice cream. So okay, Iridium Kush. If we have free will, this is for everybody. If we have free will, can we agree that choosing a flavor of ice cream would be the freest type of decision that we could make? Can we agree that if we have free will, that it would show up in choosing a flavor of ice cream? I'm going to go with yes, so we can move on. So then I will ask you, all of you, and we're going to wait for an answer. So think of a flavor, because that's what I'm asking about. Actually, let's just stick with actually, no. Any flavor of ice cream. So any flavor that you can think of, whether you've eaten it or not, whether you're making up on the spot, put in the chat right now which flavor of ice cream you would choose. And let's not be cute and be like, oh, I don't really feel like ice cream. So, okay, fair. But let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just say that we are all going to eat ice cream. If we were all going to eat ice cream, then what flavor we choose could not be there could not be a freer decision, right? I bring that up to just say, okay, if that's an easy version of free will, then it should be very easy for you guys to show the free will in the situation. So Lil Toast says he wants orange sherbet. Okay, Lil Toast, why do you want orange sherbet? See, now you're trying to be cute. Like, okay, if you want to have the conversation, we can have a conversation. You ask the question. If you want the answer, I'm giving it to you. But if you just want to, if you just want to make fun and dance around it, then you're not going to get the answer. He says because I want it. Why? I understand you want it. That's why when it says want, I understand that you want orange sherbet. The question is, why do you want orange sherbet? Bullets wants I'm gonna get shit for this either way. Pecan praline and cream. Okay, same question. Why is that the flavor that you want? Douglas says homemade peach. Again, same question. Why do you want homemade peach? No. Okay. Why? Okay. So Iridium, again, same question. Why are you guys choosing the flavor that you're choosing? So let's get back into this. I'll give you guys a minute to sit on that, think about it. Why did you choose that flavor and not another flavor?
Give me another example, we could talk about it. But either the prophecies, you have people writing the New Testament, reading back on the Old Testament, pulling things out of context.
Okay, so now we're getting some answers. Now we're getting somewhere. So it tastes yummy. It's my favorite flavor. So Douglas, did you choose that homemade peach would be your favorite flavor, or did you just taste it and then you're like, oh, this aligns with my preference more than any other flavor? Same thing. You love the taste of cookies. Did you choose? I love cookie dough as well. That's my go-to. But did you choose to like these things, or are these just part of your preference? I know. I have, and you are. I haven't thought about this in a long time. I got to go get me some black cherry ice cream because you are right. Well, if you just answer the questions instead of trying to win the conversation, then you'll figure it out. Since our present choices and acts under determinism are necessary consequences of the past and the laws of nature, then we have no choice over them and hence no free will. You're getting ahead of me, bro. Gang. So again, the question is, so yeah, I did choose after my No. I didn't ask if you chose to get that flavor. Did you choose for it to be your favorite? And if you say, so let's take it a step further. So, okay, let's say you did choose it. So do me a favor, prove that you have free will and change your favorite flavor to something else. Yes, little toes. That is exactly what I'm saying.
Like the virgin birth. If you actually read Isaiah 7 on the virgin birth, it has nothing to do with the Messiah. And the Hebrew word is for a young girl, not even a virgin. And the New Testament writers apply that as if to Jesus when it was never.
Okay. So we're going to go back into this, but now you guys are, see, it works when you just answer the question. So both said, I love toffee and butterscotch blizzards from DQ. Just my favorite flavors. Again, did you choose for those to be your favorite flavors? Or did you just pick, oh, I'm going to get that. And now that's your favorite flavors. Can you choose to make vanilla your favorite flavor? Freem says, well, living organisms are meant to survive and adapt. However, we have humans that can end themselves. Breaking past the law. What? That's not a. I mean, there's no. That happens all the time. Then Lil Toes also says, okay, now it's black cherry because my feelings change. So now you control your feelings? Because most other people, you might have some control over them, but you don't get to choose how your feelings work. So the point here is that the point is that you didn't choose that to be your favorite for your favorite. Even if you did choose to be your favorite, you didn't choose for it to be the first one that came to your mind. You didn't choose for it to be, even if you said you typed out chocolate and you said, "Nah, I'm gonna do homemade peach." What is the mechanism that made you do that? It is everything physically that has happened before that moment, because that decision is something that can be physically measured. Not only can it be physically measured, but if we there is an experiment that they did where it'll tell you there, you look at a screen, you have two buttons, it'll tell you left button or right button or red or green or whatever it is. You have two choices. The test was to see how long it took the person to decide which button they were going to push. So let's say, I don't remember the exact details, but let's say it's a good button and a bad button. So they show you a picture, you press either good or you press bad. What they can, are you sure about that, buddy? Because they hook people up to an fMRI. And in certain cases, up to 7 seconds before the person was aware of which button they were going to press, the fMRI was able to read the brainwaves that they were going to do that. So yes, little toes, feelings absolutely can be physically measured. I don't know why you would say these things if you haven't read you're not aware of the studies that I'm talking about. As if I would come up here and talk this shit without knowing what I'm talking about. Now, if you've read the study and you don't agree with it, and you have something to refute it, hey, I am more than willing to change my opinion. So I love how you say my theory is dumb, but your brain is the one that hurts. Oof. What's an oversimplification? There's a lot of things going on. I'm saying a lot of things. You can't just do that. You gotta tell me what you're talking about. But let's say God in the beginning formed matter in solid, massy, hard, impenetrable, movable particles, and of such size and figures, and with such other properties, and in such proportion to space, as conduced to the end for which he formed them. Isaac Newton. That's cute. In other words, Isaac Newton, God makes hell of a Sunday. I mean, you realize everybody believed in religion in Isaac Newton's time, right? Like, that's not some like, gotcha, even this guy believed in, like, yeah, everybody believed in God. That's what the world was. So let's back this up a little bit, see where we were.
It's out of context. Back on the Old Testament, prophesied 300 outside of the Gospels only emerges in the 3rd century. 300 years removed. So I don't buy it. Give me another example, we could talk about it. But either the prophecies, you have people writing the New Testament, reading back on the Old Testament, pulling things out of context, like the virgin birth. If you actually read Isaiah 7 on the virgin birth, it has nothing to do with the Messiah. And the Hebrew word is for a young girl, not even a virgin. And the New Testament.
Oh yeah, that's another big thing too. Is that virgin didn't necessarily mean not have sex at the time the Bible was written. It was kind of assumed that young women were not having sex before marriage, and so there's an overlap in the translation. So the story of the Virgin Mary doesn't even necessarily have to be an immaculate conception. That is something that came from translations of the words. And they were like, oh, she was a virgin? Oh, well, it must have been immaculate conception. That's just not what it used to mean.
Writers apply that as if to Jesus, when it was never implied that way in the Old Testament. Or people like Jesus intentionally try to fulfill him because they're aware of him, and he's trying to convince people he's the Messiah. But you also have some false prophecies we could talk about if you wanted to as well.
Yup.
Like when Jesus says, his return people in this generation will see it. But we're at least 20 generations after this plus, and Jesus still hasn't come back.
Well, actually, you're taking that out of context. When they said generation, they actually meant like an era. Okay. I don't know what that means. I bet you she was Megan the Stallion of her day.
So I don't buy the positive prophecies, and I think there's examples of false prophecies.
Got him!
That's loud. Hi.
So again, I want to remind you guys that I think it's important to, as the students are asking the questions, even if you're not putting it in the chat, just think to yourself, is this a good question? Do I think he's going to be able to answer this? Or do I think I'm going to be able to accept the answer that he gives? Before he starts talking, understand what you think about those three things. Think about them consciously. And then as he begins to talk, see how much it lines up afterwards. We got Amanda in the building. Welcome, 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 Amanda. Amanda says the phrase is speak your piece. What phrase? I don't know what you're talking about. But welcome to the party. We're talking with this atheist philosophy professor from UCLA, talking to a bunch of Christian university students.
I just like to say thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And from here, it looks like you have a wedding ring on.
Wait, are you talking about this? Really? It's speak your piece, like P-E-A-C-E? I don't think that's right. Is it? I gotta Google it.
Am
Are
I
you married?
This is getting really personal.
Just answer.
Oh shit.
Just answer. Wow.
Yes, sir. What is your standard for love? If you have no foundation in Jesus, I see no reason to love people at all. So what's your standard?
Oh, that is rough. That is rough. Let's hear that again. Make sure I got it exactly what she said. Fine, don't do this to me now. But yeah, Amanda was correct. It is speak your P-E-A-C-E. I guess we're all too dumb to have known that. So Amanda is the smartest person.
What is your standard for love? If you have no foundation in Jesus, I see no reason to love people at all.
If you have no foundation in Jesus, you have no reason to love people at all. That is sad. That is sad. I love people because of who they are. I believe people have intrinsic value. I don't know why. So if she were to be convinced that Jesus wasn't the Son of God, would she suddenly be unable to experience love? And if so, then which one of us is really further from God's word?
So what's your standard?
Well,
It's my opinion.
okay.
And, I mean, okay, it's my opinion. The evidence that I have that people have value is that when people are lost, other people don't like that. When people behave in a certain way, they can add value to other people's lives. That is why I believe people inherently have value. See, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. If you don't say just bullshit, if you don't just believe bullshit, then you can answer questions like this. Even though he's being facetious, I have an answer like that for that, because it's not complicated. Division Plus said, like if Jesus loves everyone, there is literally hell. What? Those who would question God, in doing so, question the meaning of life as it pertains to them. They have a long road ahead. Again, you're just saying things. How do you know that the meaning of life is God, I guess, is what you're saying here. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just asking, how do you know that? Or rather, how can I verify? Some people do like that. Yeah. Douglas says, I actually don't even really like people all that much. Just joking, but I do agree. Religious beliefs do not have a place on. Religious belief does not place a higher moral standard on love. Yeah, so I don't know what this girl believes, but she's a Christian, so apparently y'all are in the same boat. Don't get mad at me. Y'all are all the ones calling yourself Christians. Amanda says, for the record of Amanda's life, in my opinion, I find it completely absurd and partially retarded that so many people believe they got a get out of hell free card for murdering Jesus. Yeah, that doesn't really make too much sense. But you also, like, apparently Christ died for your sins. And God has a plan. But also, you have free will. And you're responsible for what you do. And you have to repent. Doesn't that kind of not jive? Doesn't really work that way. Douglas says that we, at least when it comes to how we are treating each other. What is it? Yeah, absolutely. I can't disprove what. Well, what is the meaning of life as it pertains to you? As it pertains to me, the meaning of my life is to enjoy the things that I enjoy, to spread the knowledge that I have to other people, to gather the knowledge that other people have that I don't, and to build bonds with people that I will enjoy my time here. That's it. You know, being nice to people, having a place where we can all come and meet, talk about the things that we all care about, have rituals, have inside, all of these things that believers seem to think only religion can provide. What I'm saying, my whole point with this whole channel is that you don't need religion for those things. Like I said, now I'm desiring to grow deeper in my love for God and people. We'll be practicing it for many years to come. More power to you, brother. More power to you. Man says, in our society, there are consequences to your actions. You break the law, you go to jail. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Simple enough. Well said. Well said. Did you have trauma with a priest when you were younger? It would explain a lot. No, I didn't. I would love, actually, I would not love to have a story like that. I was going to say that, but what I meant was, if that was something that had happened in my life, it would make the whole being an atheist thing a lot easier to argue. But the fact that that happens to children at all, and how the church covered it up, all that stuff, is plenty of reason not to want to be associated with the church at all, in my opinion. Radium says, I went through a highly atheistic period in my earlier years. Recent happenings in my life have renewed my faith. I can't completely explain it through science alone. And again, more power to you. I am not here trying to tell you that you should not believe those things. I am just saying that if you believe those things, and I can't believe those things because you don't have whether it's the understanding or the words or whatever else to convince me, then it is only logical for me to maintain my position. Yes, Bullets, that's the point. That's the point. You've hit the nail on the head. We don't need a Jesus. We don't need a God in order to do all of the things that you like about religion. That is the point. I understand that. That also is my point. That is exactly where this name comes from. Is that the people like Henry who are going, and people like Henry who are going to take the name at its face value and think that they and categorize my message. They are the ones missing out. They are the ones who are not moving us forward as a society. And so you guys, even though you are believers and you may or may not have an issue with the name of the channel, you guys are here actually engaging. You are the ones who are making this whole thing better than people like Henry. That is undeniable. And it says, we teach our children that there are consequences to broken rules. What we are teaching them by telling them that Jesus took their consequences. We are teaching them that Jeffrey Dahmer is washed of the blood of Jesus Christ. Well, I think that's what everybody here believes. There was I did a poll at the beginning, and 71% of the people who were here at the beginning were believers of some sort. So I believe that is in fact what they believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jeffrey Dahmer was baptized and repented before he died. So is he in heaven or not? No, Douglas, I very much appreciate you guys being in the chat. I love the conversational part of it way more than the video. I like showing you guys stuff, but the whole idea is that we have this conversation. I want to explore these things with you guys. So please don't apologize for that. You have not blown up my chat. In fact, say more. No, man says, stop calling cold-blooded murder a sacrifice. Jesus was murdered, nailed to a cross by evil fuckers. Douglas said, I love my atheist and agnostic friends. Well, I'm an agnostic atheist, so I guess I get two times, right? Amanda says, I find it insane that y'all believe this crap this long.
I can tell you my standard is not Jesus. Because despite what people say, he did and believed a lot of things we all know are not loving.
Remember, this was the question about how can you love if you don't have a basis in Jesus or whatever.
And I'll give you some examples of this. Supposedly there's demons. Wait, don't leave. She might want to follow back up. Don't leave her. Oh, you do have the mic. Supposedly there's demons, and instead of casting them out, he runs them into a herd owner's pigs and sends, 2,000 pigs into the ocean. Like, why would Jesus confuse God? He didn't have to ruin the guy's herd. That didn't sound very loving to me. Second, Jesus believes in the Old Testament. You look at a lot of the violence in the Old Testament, that's hardly the kind of thing a loving God would do.
Yup.
So I don't look to the Bible for love. Now, are there some things Jesus taught that were good? Sure.
Absolutely.
Like loving your enemies, that's a pretty powerful teaching Jesus taught.
Yup.
I'm okay with that.
Yup.
My standard of love doesn't come from some ancient book written 2,000 years ago. It comes from common sense and reflection on how human beings best flourish. So I just look at my wife and I say, what words can I say that are kind to her? How can I treat her respectfully?
Any of the things he's about, I don't know how long this list is, but all the things he's going to list. Say things that are kind to her. How can I treat her respectfully? Which of these is necessary that he believes in God? Bullets, I'm going to come back to your comment in just a second.
How do I be a good husband? How do I be a good dad?
Do you need God for those?
How do I be faithful to her? Like,
do you need God for that?
You might say these are Christian values, but they're also Buddhist values. They're also Hindu values.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're human values.
Aha! That's because they are human values. They are absolutely Christian values. They're also Jewish values and Buddhist values and Hindu values and Jainism and all of that stuff because they are human values. Further evidence that faith is unnecessary to have a comprehensive morality. So Bullet says we need Jesus and others in the Bible because they teach us great wisdom. To say we do not need their wisdom would lead us down a path of folly. When did I say that we do not need their wisdom? Seems like you're putting words in my mouth or arguing. You got banned. What do you want me to do? Seems like you're presenting a straw man. I have never once had anything bad to say about any type of wisdom. The point is, the Bible does not have a monopoly on that wisdom. A lot of the values from the Bible already existed in prior religions. That is the point. It's not saying that the values of the Bible are wrong. It's just saying they're not unique to the Bible. So let's just go with the values and the wisdom. Let's take that stuff. And then all the, I'm not even going to call it BS, all the things that we cannot verify, then we can throw them out. Because those are not relevant to how you and I should treat each other and treat others around us today. The wisdom that you're talking about is relevant. But turning water into wine has nothing to do with that. Is there no other way to show that we have reverence for someone without making them magic? That's the point, guys. That's the point. Goes on to say, this guy in the video missed the concept of self-love. How can you love anyone if at first you do not open your heart and love yourself? Again, another straw man. When did he say he doesn't love himself? That is just simply not what he said. Sounds like you missed the concept of the video. Sounds like you're getting a little bit defensive and not listening. Because the last two things you've said are things that did not happen in this video. We're not talking about that. We are in the Jesus hate era, apparently. I mean, last time we did politics, I'm trying to, move away from, just the Twitch drama stuff, and I'm trying to elevate. It's not all going to be religious stuff, but I thought it was relevant, given we've been talking about this a lot in the Discord lately. Speaking of which, you know that we've moved panel time over to the Discord server, and the link for the server is in the description. So as soon as this show is over, we are going to continue this conversation on the panel, all of us together. All you got to do is be in the server. So Division Plus says, use the Bible for analogies and metaphors for wisdom, but don't use it to define reality. What's the problem with this? Why can't we do this? Do I think the Bible will still be relevant in 300 years? Yes. Yeah, I agree. It has a lot. There's things that are in the Bible that are very good, and people don't, because of the fact that people act like religion is the only way to get those values or that wisdom. Many people go down that road of thinking that this is the only way to do it. You have to have Jesus, otherwise you can't love people. What? I'm living proof. That is not how that works. Well, it says, take all these great works and throw them into a fire. Then bring forth the book you would replace it with. There is no one book. That, again, is the point. There is no one book. You take some of the good stuff from and who said throw them into a fire? You're arguing against straw men. I never said any of these things. I am saying take the things that are good, throw out the things that are not good. Take the things that are good from this book now and throw the things out that are not good. Take the things from the philosophy book that are good and throw the things that are not. Take the good things from the Spider-Man movie and throw away anything else that doesn't matter. That is the point. Hey, we got Dr. Evil Genius in the building. Oh, did we hit 600? Hey! 600 subscribers. What is good? Thank you all so much. Thank you, Dr. Evil Genius. Thank you. Otangelo Grasso says, send me a link. I have to come to this conversation. The link for the Discord is in the description. The trolls have made it so that it is not reasonable to be doing the panels up here. But as soon as this conversation is over, we are hopping in Discord, and we are going to have quite an interesting and probably very heated conversation. But glad you're here, Otangelo. And I am hope you enjoy. Yeah, we just have this guy who is an atheist philosophy professor talking to his talking to Christian students, or just asking him about his life and such. I'm gonna back it up a little bit. Remember where we were.
How do I be a good husband? How do I be a good dad?
Why do we need God for
How
this
do I
stuff?
be faithful to her? Like
Need
these,
God for that?
you might say these are Christian values, but they're also Buddhist values. They're also Hindu values. That's because they're human values. So I don't need an ancient book to know what it means to love my wife. In fact, I think that ancient book wouldn't help me because of the way it treats women, but separate issue. But
Yikes.
are you done, or did you want to come back? Are you married? Definitely not.
Spoken like a true liberal.
So if you believe in things from a scientific standpoint, you do, right? Like scientific.
I couldn't quite make that out.
You believe in things from a scientific perspective, like the creation and life based around science.
That's not a full question.
Echo, I believe what?
Do you believe in creation from a scientific perspective?
What does that question mean? That does not like just because you the words in an order sound like they work. Like just because you have the sentence structure right doesn't mean that that makes any sense. Do you believe in creation from a scientific perspective? What? Do you believe in horses from a dietary perspective? What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Those are just words. Well, it says a God who lets us prove his existence would be an idol. Well, isn't that convenient?
Do I believe creation from a scientific perspective? I don't believe creation from any perspective.
Well, then what are your thoughts on just like the law of conservation of matter and how things can't be created or destroyed? You said how you think the universe is constantly expanding.
Okay, so slow down. The first law of thermodynamics.
That little voice in your head telling you what's good and what's bad. That's you. That's you. Like, we are very familiar with the and actually there's a lot of people who don't have a little voice in their head. This was a thing on the internet maybe 5 or so years ago that people were talking about not having an internal monologue. So how does that fit in? Are those people just stricken by God to not get a relationship with him? Or see, it sounds nice, but what you guys are doing is following the confirmation bias. You already believe a thing, so you're just saying things that will support your conclusion. That's backwards. That's not how logic works. You can do that for anything. If you want reality, you must first start with what you know and then build from there. Not what you think you want to know to be true and figure out how you can make that make sense. That is confirmation bias.
Which you call the law of conservation of energy, says that matter is neither created nor destroyed. Correct?
I've never seen any words on a tree except for like initials and with a heart around it, or flowers. I mean, there's constellations, but again, this is just saying things. Okay, so show me a tree or a flower or a cloud or a star where the gospel is written. Oh, you can't, because that's bullshit, and that's just a thing to say that sounds cute. And what it actually means is if you already believe in God, then you look at anything that is amazing to you. Like, oh, look at God. He's in the trees. He's in the flowers. How could it be? The human eye, when most people wear fucking glasses, but the human eye is so perfect. This is not logical thinking. This is not how you find reality. I'm sorry.
Who believes matter was created? You or me?
Well, I was thinking you.
Wait, let's go back because I think that was a gotcha.
Correct? Matter dynamics.
Oh yeah.
Called the law of, so slow down. The first law of thermodynamics, which you call the law of conservation of energy, says that matter is neither created or destroy. Correct?
Yes.
Who believes matter was created? You or me?
So that's why, do you believe creation from a scientific perspective is not a sensical question. It's not a sensical question. And division plus is right. It's as if, repeating the same point over and over with different examples. God is everywhere. He's not just in the Bible, but he's in the trees and the flowers and the clouds and the stars and in this cup right here. I swear Jesus is right in here. But you just got to believe. You just got to see it. Because once you open your eyes and you open your heart to the Lord, you'll see he's all around you. He's everywhere. What if that's not my experience? How come nobody in the world can tell me what I did wrong? That I genuinely and honestly, authentically looked for God in every way I knew how. Brought up as a Catholic, never knew anything else. Why would God purposely not let me find him? I just told you I did. I literally that was the sentence that I just finished, telling you that I did. But you know better, right? You know my head better than me. Okay.
Well, I was thinking you.
So again, the question was, who believes that matter is created?
No, I just said I don't believe matter was created because that implies a creator.
So kind of like how he just said that thing. I don't believe matter or energy can be created or destroyed. And then the kid says, well, I think you believe that it's created. I referenced, oh my God, bro. You sure? So anybody who's read these authors would not be an atheist. Is that your conclusion? Oh, wait, but there's scholars all over. Whoever I specifically brought up Deepak Chopra and how he is full of shit and uses the fact that people don't understand quantum mechanics to talk about his woo-woo like The Secret and the law of attraction. Trust me, bro. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. You can decide that because what I'm saying makes you, well, I don't like it. And so you can insult me and say that I haven't done this, that, and the other, or I haven't opened up my eyes, or I haven't done that. Okay, you're wrong and have not provided any evidence for me to go on, but believe whatever you want. And again, I don't know. I never said I was a genius. Who said? Go back and any of the streams I've ever done and find where I said I'm a genius. It's, whew, you guys are getting real defensive, throwing out straw men and ad hominems. What happened to attack ideas, not people? Trust me, bro. Seriously, trust me. Like, bro, trust me. Trust me, bro. I got it. Those are the last words I heard before I got arrested. So, find God in the moment you realize you don't need to find God. Okay. Like, what does that mean? I mean, I understand what that means, but what does that mean for the conversation? You're just saying things. That's not an argument. You can keep, I can just keep bringing up random atheist quotes too. That's not a conversation. Tangelo says, energy cannot be eternal because of the second law of thermodynamics. The ability to perform work winds down, and sometime in the future, all energy will be used to perform work. That is in a closed system. The universe is not a closed system. Please stop talking about thermodynamics if you don't understand thermodynamics. JR is just chilling.
Are you a Christian? You believe in God.
Yes.
So you believe matter was created. The
Yeah.
first law that you cited says matter is neither created nor destroyed.
Hey, we got Otangelo in the server.
That's not a problem for me. I don't think it was created or destroyed. I say, yep, that's scientific fact. You're the one who believes it was created.
So how do you think the universe is expanding without matter being created?
How is it expanding?
You said it how you thought the universe.
Oh, that's easy. Put buttons on a balloon. If you expand the balloon, what happens? The buttons
Get
further
further
and
away.
further from one another. There's not.
Again, this is incredulity. It is not, the universe is not a closed system. You're correct, we don't know anything out of it. And that is how we know that is not a closed system. Because we know that there's more out of it that we don't know. There's a such thing as the observable universe. Why do they call it the observable universe? Because it's only the part of the universe that we can observe. There is more universe out there that is unobservable. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, Toast, you might be too dumb for this one. You might, be, or incredulity. Yeah. But the, you might, if you don't understand basic analogies, then this might not be, the place for you. Yeah. Frank, hey, we got J Mike. Welcome, J Mike. Thank you for stopping by. I'm just talking about this atheist from UCLA talking to a Christian student body. Says Frank Turek and Otangelo are the kingpins of theism. Good question. How can you conclude it's a closed system? Oh, that is called projection. So, who's making a claim here? You said, yes, it is a closed system. And then your next comment. Projecting, bro? A little bit? It's okay. It's okay.
More matter. It's an expansion of the existing matter.
So it's just more empty space.
Hell of a typo.
Well, yeah, you could look at it that way. It gets more precise than that. But yeah, it's not the constant creation of matter for the universe to expand. It's a different relationship of the existing matter. That's it.
Okay.
Hey, good question, by the way. Very thoughtful. Back there, go.
Hi, my name is Olivia. It's very nice to meet you. Okay, so you have said repeatedly throughout today that you believe in science, yes?
Broadly, yes.
So before she goes in, you are projecting. You are saying that I am making claims without evidence. I have not made any claims that need evidence. I have not made any of those claims. As I've shown on the screen right now, you saying yes, it is a closed system is a claim. And as Division Plus asked, how can you conclude that's a closed system? How do you know that? And then you say, you make a claim. What claim did I make? What claim did I make? Please reiterate if you are correct. Otangelo is blessing us with his knowledge. We don't question. We just accept because God. Apparently. Hey, we got Saitama. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, God is real. Look at the trees. It's so beautiful. What else could it be? Oh, well. Yeah, I guess I'm too dumb. Jeremy says, so then you shouldn't make claims about an ultimate foundation. Yep. I claim that the universe is an open system. Back it up. I said that what I said was that what you are talking about only works for a closed system. I said we don't know that it's a closed system. That it could be an open system because we don't know. We don't know. That is the point. We don't know. So I can't claim it's this or that, and you can't claim it's this or that because we don't know. I mean, you can claim whatever you want, but you'd be wrong. We don't. We assume it's an open system because of the whatever is going on outside of the observable universe. I'm not a fucking astrologer. I don't fucking know the exact science behind it. But all right, I mean, yeah, if you know, I'm with it. I'm with Iridium. Please explain. I mean, I'm here to. Yeah, sure.
broadly. Okay, so we'll take that. So I was wondering, when a trial or tribulation per se comes into your life, how do you explain the origin of that? And
You don't need to. You don't need to explain anything. When it comes to these things, either we're in the process of learning it, and so the people at the top of their field are on it, or they figured it out and you can read it in a book and replicate the studies and so on and so forth. How do you explain the origin of the universe? I don't know. How do you explain where consciousness came from? I don't know. What do you think happened before the Big Bang? The big time started with the Big Bang, so before the Big Bang isn't really a sensible question. What does this have to? Why can't you just present your argument? And I'm talking to the students here. Why can't you present your argument? Hey, this is what I believe and why I believe it. Can you poke a hole in what I believe? I don't understand how that is so difficult. So Tangela says, fact or fiction? Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Fact. The universe itself is a closed system. Let's do this. Yes. So I'm wrong. I am happy to say that I'm wrong. Universe, a closed system. Oh, well, I guess I was wrong. Look at that. Somebody admitting that they may have been incorrect? Oh my God. So let's see. Let's get it right. Fact or fiction? Energy is this literally what you're reading from? So let's see. The conservation of energy has an absolute law. So this is from Scientific American. Conservation of energy is an absolute law, and yet it seems to fly in the face of things we observe every day. Sparks create a fire, which generates heat, manifests energy that wasn't there before. A battery produces power. A nuclear bomb creates an explosion. Each of these situations, however, is simply a case of energy changing form. Even the seemingly paradoxical dark energy causing the universe to a universe's expansion to accelerate, we will see, obeys this rule. The law of conservation energy, also known as the first law of thermodynamics, states that the energy of a closed system must remain constant. It can neither increase nor decrease without interference from outside. The universe itself is a closed system. Alrighty, so the universe itself is a closed system. So the total amount of energy in existence has always been the same. The forms that energy take, however, are constantly changing. I promise I'm not just trying to save face. I've already obviously was wrong about the closed system thing. But if the universe is a closed system, then I think it may be the opposite, that entropy only is in an open system. But let's continue reading. Potential and kinetic energy are two of the most basic forms familiar from high school physics. Gravitational potential is stored energy of a boulder, push up a hill, poised to roll down. Kinetic energy is energy in motion when it starts rolling. And some of these called mechanical energy. Blah, blah, blah. All right, let's get to quantum theory. I'll actually jump from one. I'm trying to find what is specifically relevant to the religious aspect. Modern cosmologies offer new rules of conservation. We now know that the universe is expanding at a faster and faster rate, propelled by something called dark energy. This is thought to be intrinsic energy per cubic centimeter of empty space. But if the universe is a closed system with a finite amount of energy, how can it spawn more empty space, which must contain more intrinsic energy without creating additional energy? Turns out that in Einstein's theory of general relativity, regions of space with positive energy actually push space outwards. As space expands, it releases stored up gravitational potential energy, which converts into intrinsic energy that fills the newly created volume. So even the expansion of the universe is controlled by the law of energy conservation. So you know, obviously, I was incorrect on saying that we don't know if the universe is a closed system. But one more thing I want to check real quick. Law of conservation in a closed system religion. Let's see what we got here. Give me 1 second here. Let's see what this is. Essay, spiritual essay. I don't really care. All right. You know, scientific laws that we already know already know about are updated and refined over time. Lightman offers the new replacement, Newton's law of gravity, by Einstein's deeper and more accurate law of gravity. These revisions are part of the very fabric of science. Next, Lightman provides a working definition of God. I would not pretend to know the nature of God if God does indeed exist, but for the purpose of this discussion, and in agreement with almost all religions, I think we can safely say that God is understood to be a being not restricted by the laws that govern matter and energy in the physical universe. In other words, God exists outside matter and energy. In most religions, this being acts with purpose and will, sometimes violating existing physical law, as performing miracles, and has additional qualities such as intelligence. Trying to find. Hold on, we're almost there. Of a continuing religious beliefs based on the degree in which actually one is an atheism. Okay, so I mean, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. I don't know enough about thermodynamics to understand why the law of conservation is not an argument for the existence of God. I just know that it is. I cannot provide you with that evidence right now, but we can definitely explore it in the panel. So since the universe as a whole is the only true isolated system, the law of thermodynamics apply perfectly. If we're closed, then what's on the outside? As I just found out, we are that's the outside the observable universe. There's just more universe. We just can't observe it. Yes, thank you to Tangelo for correcting us. Oh, hold on 1 second. Before I forget. You should try now. I just gave you the I just gave you a roll. You should be able to. If not, we'll let's get back to the video, and we will deal with all of that afterwards. So Lilto says division plus. That's because we're made out of. Moving on.
And how do you endure that as an atheist?
A trial or tribulation.
If something happened, let's say a death or
Oh, got
something
it.
that you can't really,
Or like
there's no explainable
something
reason for it.
totally unforeseen, like a pandemic or something like that. How do we
Sure,
deal with that?
something unfair.
So because I embrace science as a means of knowing the world, doesn't mean I only embrace science as a means of knowing and experiencing the world. That's what's called scientism.
Right.
I don't embrace scientism.
Me neither. So Tangelo says the second law of thermodynamics points to the beginning of the universe. Therefore, it had a cause. So I think we're getting closer to why this is not a good argument. Because certainly, even if I'm wrong, you're not the first person to talk about thermodynamics in the context of religion, as we just saw in that article. But the universe had a beginning, but the universe may have had a beginning, and it may have had if it had a beginning, it had a cause. That cause, though, you can't just mean the cause is God. That's a jump. That's a leap. So, as far as I'm understanding, because clearly I was wrong about the how the laws work. I think it was again. I think it has to do with I mixed up open and closed, but I don't know. And clearly you were right about that. But yeah, therefore it had a cause. Okay, fine. I'm with you. The universe had a cause. How do we then get from the universe had to have a cause to the cause was a sentient being who cares about whether you masturbate? Let's hear it, brother. Warranted? How so? I disagree. It could have been a physical cause. Why does it need to be a conscious being that cares about whether you masturbate or get tattoos? That's the leap. Explosions instruction should be exponential, at least when a massive scale like super black holes. Yeah, universe does some crazy shit.
Testable, powerful way that's given us medicine, communications, transportation, etc. When something like a pandemic hits, I don't go to the Bible. I turn to science because science is giving us vaccines. Science is testing whether masks work. It was scientists who, at the bubonic plague, said, this isn't a condemnation from God. Maybe there's a scientific explanation. Viruses, bacteria, let's figure it out.
And that's where we're talking about, somebody said that type of science. And there can be good science and bad science. Science done properly. Remember, science being a process. That when it came to the the Rona stuff, it's not that science. Yeah, it's not that science didn't let us know that stuff like this was going to go on, or that the jab wouldn't help with transmission, or that it barely helped with if you did get sick, all that kind of stuff. It's not that they didn't know that; they just lied about it. So let's not go down that road. Tangent says only minds can create other minds. Matter cannot become conscious. Start to comprehend things, starting to understand language, laws of language, math, beauty, and think about matter. Okay, that's another claim. So how do you know that? Hey, we got indie film in the building. The science. No. The science worked. They just lied about what the science told them. They just lied to us about what the science told them that the masks don't work. The science told them that the jab wouldn't help transmission. The science was fine. It was the media and the government that fucked us over. But yeah, so Tangelo, how can I verify that minds cannot be created by anything than another mind? Where did you get that notion? How do you know that fire can't create minds? How do you know that you know what I mean? Like, and again, as before, we make claims and we attack ideas, and I pulled it up, and you're wrong. You were right before. I was wrong, and I have no problem saying, hey, I was wrong. And if you're just joining us, you missed a very rare instance of me admitting I was wrong. Not because I never admit I'm wrong, but because I very rarely ever am. Yes, dark energy. Well, it doesn't explain, but it is part of the explanation. It is part of the explanation. Thank you, Dion.
That led to helping mankind. Now, personally, what do? I turn to family. I turn to friends. I turn to other human
I'm going to speed this up.
Who help us through this. And we have helped each other. That's what it means to be human, to be a collective species.
Okay, so if you don't believe, because I think a lot of us believe in science in addition to what we personally believe, just as you do. So then what else do you believe in? Because you said that you turn to your family and your friends and everything else, but I believe that there is something that can't be verbalized about humanity. There's something
that is an argument from incredulity. You may not be able to articulate it. You may not be able to verbalize it. That doesn't mean it's not able to be verbalized. That just means you don't have the ability to verbalize it.
We feel that's a little inexplicable, and being a Christian, I believe that has Christian origin. What do you, in addition to science, believe to be an explanation?
So I understand the religious sentiment. Where I teach at UCLA, I will have Buddhist students who will say, I feel this deeper spiritual sense. I'll have Muslim students who will say that. But the way you described it, a feeling, is ultimately a physical thing. So I have awe at the universe. I have awe at certain natural processes. I have awe when a child is born. We live in a pretty amazing place. But I don't see any evidence that there's a transcendent being outside of the universe that exists. That's where we differ.
Boom. Exactly. And so before I get to that, that's exactly the point, is that these ideas of awe and spirituality and this and that, and these can all exist without a belief in God. You don't need that. Tangelo says, as an atheist, most certainly your entire worldview without God is bunk. Is it though? Is it though? What explains the making of machines better? Coincidence or intelligence? Intelligence, obviously. What does that have to do with God? Oh, are you saying the universe is a machine? Okay. So now we have two claims. We have only minds can create other minds, and we have the claim that the universe is a machine. So again, as you saw, I am willing to admit when I'm wrong. But now we have two claims which you've made, which you've not backed up. So before we go into, molecular, that's a real semantic stretch. That's a real semantic stretch. A machine is something that, by definition, is built. So you can't, that again is a tautology. The fact that, so you don't see a difference between, so you don't believe, you don't, I understand what you mean, but I'm saying the proteins that do things in your body, those are not, that's not a machine in the same way that a car is a machine. Yeah, I'm gonna, that's very clear. Yes, I understand that, but that is not what is talked about when people are talking about machines like a watch or a car or a computer. When somebody talks about machines, colloquially, we are speaking about things that are inorganic and hence completely not in the category of nature and the universe. Hey, we got Cherie in the building. Welcome, Cherie. Welcome. How are you doing tonight? So, we got the two claims. We got that the universe is a machine and that only minds can create minds.
So I have feelings of awe. I believe there's something bigger than humanity that's going on, but not in an immaterial spiritual sense. I don't find any evidence for the existence of such a being. I think maybe that's where we differ. I also believe in history, believe in psychology, sociology. There's a lot of ways of going.
Hey, we got Shawn McDowell, aka D-Mac, in the building. Welcome, brother. Glad to see you. Glad you are here. Machine is an assembly of interconnected components arranged to transmit or modify force in order to perform useful work. Okay, fine. So then going back to your original question, if you want to use that, then what explains the making of machines better? Then my answer is that's a false dichotomy, or not a false dichotomy, but is it begs the question, what kind of machine? Because clearly proteins in our bodies are different types of machines than a car or a watch. So we can play semantic games. That doesn't change what we're talking about.
About the world outside of science, but I don't believe there's a personal God in that spiritual sense, and mainly because of the problem of evil. But I can talk about that if someone wants to. Just got the mic up top. Oh, right here, and then we'll come to the top.
I have two questions for you. The first one is related to the multiverse theory, right? So that theory has not been proven. And so if you're going to use that for your answer to fine tuning, correct? And it's not a proven theory.
Okay, slow down. How do you know the multiverse has not been proven? How
Because I know it's in a situation and it's speculation where it cannot be proven as well.
No, I'm asking, how do you know? By the way, I wouldn't use the term prove because in philosophy that implies 100% certainty. But the consistent evidence points towards a multiverse.
Fair enough. But then fair enough. If you're not playing semantic games, I think that's a semantic difference that is doesn't go further than that. And so again, my answer to your question about machines. Well, if it's an organic machine, then coincidence. If it's an industrial machine or a technical machine or something, then it's something different.
For example, from string theory. So it is currently the best explanation of reality embraced by virtually all cosmologists and philosophers.
Okay, so it's the best answer as of right now.
Well, yeah, look,
Yeah.
I mean, this is
See, he's trying to catch it. So it's the best answer right now. So you don't know for sure. No, I don't know for sure, but that doesn't mean God exists.
we have to reason things together and make assessments from them. Just because something's not 100% certain doesn't mean it's not reasonable.
So then
Yep.
you take out the fine tuning when you're looking at that, and so you disregard that.
Yes.
So if this theory is approved because it's not 100% certain, then we can look at the fine tuning and that proves evidence as to there being a creator as opposed to look at the theory of the multiverse cannot be proven.
Did you hear anything that I just said?
So before he goes into repeat, Chandler says, back up your claim that coincidence can create an organic machine or protein. Put your dick in a woman and then take it almost all the way out and then put it back in again. And then go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. In 9 months, well, 10 months, you will have an organic machine. Or actually, theoretically, I don't know how long it takes from ejaculation to conception, but in whatever time that is, you will have an organic machine.
Yes, he said yes. He said it's the best answer as of right now.
Apologetics. This is so this guy's not the professor. He's just the guest speaker, but this is an apologetics philosophy course at a Christian college. So basically, trying to apologize for all the things that don't make sense within religion and make them make sense.
Knowledge does not require
Pretty much.
And
Mm-hmm.
we know from string theory, have you read The Grand Design by Stephen Hawking? That the evidence points towards a multiverse. If you could give me better evidence against it, I'd be happy to give that up and not believe it. I have no problem with that. You can't say uncertain equals not proven, therefore we don't know. That's not how philosophy and knowledge works. So there may be fine tuning, but that fits within the multiverse scenario because we couldn't observe ourselves in a universe that we're not fine tuned. So it fits perfectly within the theory that I've laid out.
And my second question.
So before he gets there, so we left off at saying that Backyard claimed that coincidence can create an organic machine. Before we understood how that worked, it was nobody taught cavemen that if you have sex, you're gonna have a baby. It's coincidental. So now imagine a prebiotic Earth with a random bunch of molecules. Okay, from there, go to the first I don't know what that word is. Proteome. Is that a typo or is that a thing? Proteome. The entire complement of proteins that is expressed. Okay, so from there, go to the first entire complement of proteins that is or can be expressed by a cell, tissue, or organism, with the first living cell, self-replicating cell. Okay. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. What was the point here? Take a prebiotic Earth. Okay, I got a prebiotic Earth with a bunch of random molecules. From there we go from the first proteome with the first living self-replicating cell. I don't understand what your point is, and I'm not being facetious. you sound very smart. So I'm not trying to play anything. It just sounds like that's a further example of the organic machine. You asked me to back up that claim, and I believe I did. And then you're saying I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't know what else to do there. Come on.
Question for you about the supernatural. So different things as opposed to just supernatural events that occur in the Bible, but that have occurred in modern day times. And like things, I've grown up as a Pentecostal Christian, so I've witnessed several times the casting out of demons and prophesying. And so I've witnessed prophecies have been fulfilled, and I've witnessed several times the casting out of demons, same reaction with several people. So what would be the best answer to that?
Okay, so when somebody says they have a personal experience,
So, Tangelo, since you're in the server, it sounds like, because I don't know the particulars of what you're talking about, then it'll be a lot easier if you can explain these things, and then I can explain how once I understand what you're talking about, how my worldview fits into that. So remember, let's be respectful and not talk about my entire worldview being bunk because I don't believe the same thing as you. Let's just, instead of holding up the whole show to have a conversation through the chat, let's just put a pin in that and we'll address it in the panel. Man.
experience, obviously because I wasn't there and none of this is documented, there's no way I can give an honest assessment of that event. That's impossible to do with any integrity. But what I can tell you is every single time somebody has shared a testimony like this, I take the evidence. Show me that the person wasn't schizophrenic, didn't have a mental disorder, that there's not another explanation for this. Never is the supernatural left standing.
Never.
Film it and put it on YouTube.
Because it's not real.
Review journal article from it.
Because it's
That's all
not
I'm asking
real.
for. I can't assess your personal experience if I wasn't there, but I would say your worldview of believing in God is going to shape the way, and this is true for me as well, it's going to shape the way you process that experience. Strip that worldview out of it, I think you're going to find very solid naturalistic explanations for it.
And all that means is that if you're already primed to believe in God and miracles and stuff like that, then when you see things that you don't understand, Tangelo, we'll address it afterwards. Don't worry about it. We're gonna make sure everything's working and all that. But the fuck, I forgot what I was saying. What did he just say? Hold on. Of course, it's gonna buffer. Oh, so yeah, if you already believe in God, and then you see something that you can't properly understand, then you're going to put that into the heuristic of your worldview. That's I don't think anybody would argue with that, right?
For me as well, it's going to shape the way you process that experience. Strip that worldview out of it, I think you're going to find very solid naturalistic explanations for it. If you could send me data, I'd be happy to look at it. Good question. Let's go up top. We're just going to go with one each because of time.
Good afternoon. Are you familiar with the Shroud of Turin?
With the Shroud of Turin, yes.
So I want to bring this up because I was not familiar with this. So the Shroud of Turin is... oh boy. So this, friends, is the Shroud of Turin. And where is it? Apparently right here. Oh. Apparently right here, there's Jesus. It looks like, this is his hair. These are his eyes. Let's see if we can get a more specific. Do you see it? Do you believe it? We got the head here. We got the chest. We got arms crossed. The legs going down. This is the Shroud of Turin. We'll jump into some comments before we go back. Tangelo said, I debated the Shroud of Turin. Look up around. We could definitely, again, hey, well, I was going to say, once we get that figured out, you are more than welcome to drop that in the Discord, and we can check that out. Very interested to hear what you have to say afterwards. So definitely gonna make sure you get we get you the Discord working. So do not worry about that. But yeah, this is what they are talking about.
Could you explain why you believe that the Shroud of Turin is not physical evidence of the resurrection of Jesus Christ?
Because the most recent carbon dating dates it to the Middle Ages, about 1500.
But what do you say to the objections that the carbon dating is incorrect due to the neutron absorption theory?
So if there only were carbon dating on the shroud and we had reason to doubt it, then I would find that a legitimate point. Carbon dating works to about 6,000 to 10,000 years in back. That's all it works back. So you can't date things older than 10,000 years through carbon dating. So that's a fair question that you're raising. But the shroud at most is 2,000 years old. So I don't find any reason to question that of the shroud.
Keep this in mind, guys. I just whatever you see on the screen right now, keep it in mind.
Plus, pollen from the Middle Ages has been found on other parts of the shroud, and it can't be dated in existence before 1500.
I believe there was pollen found that dated back to the 1st century as well.
Do you believe that, or do you actually know that and can get some evidence for that?
I'm fairly certain.
So that's not going to do it for me as a philosophy professor. I'm going to need some evidence.
Okay, so there was pollen found on the shroud from the 1st century because the pollen retains its.
Thank you for stopping by, Iridium. Really appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate you being in the chat and all of that. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and I hope you have a good night. Peace out. Chandler said they did not date the pollens. This guy is talking nonsense. You know, sounds like it.
Molecular form. It remains stable over long periods of time. So there was pollen found on the shroud from the Near Eastern area that would correlate to pollen found in Israel.
Okay, so listen very carefully. I read the recent data from a Jewish scholar named Dan Sherbach, and he's not convinced that it can date to the 1st century for a number of reasons. And these pollen things are very, very questionable. One question he raises is there could be material preserved from the 1st century. Doesn't mean the shroud itself was imprinted in the 1st century. That's one question that he raises. But he says that idea that pollen from then is very, very skeptical and breaks down. That was not assessed through carbon dating. That was assessed through another means. Now, at most,
Good question. Does anybody know this?
the shroud.
Probably the what do they call them? The sea scrolls. The I forget what they call it. The something sea scrolls. Douglas said, "This has been great. I love when my beliefs are challenged. I do as well, Douglas. That is why I appreciate you guys keeping me on my toes. Because I could easily just ignore you guys and just say, there you go, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Thank you. I could easily just, kind of not even pay attention to you guys and just preach what I want to preach and think that, oh, I've got all the answers and listen to me. But that's not what we do here. We are a community and we discuss things and we try to learn more about whatever it is that we're talking about. So you are in the right place, sir. Tangela says, Liberato de Caro X-ray dating of a Turin shroud's linen sample in the day. The experimental results are compatible with the hypothesis that the Turin shroud is a 2,000-year-old relic supposed by Christian tradition. Okay, fair enough.
Crowd would simply
But yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Thank you guys.
say that some figure who matches the description of Jesus existed and was crucified. At most, that's all that would follow from it. But I'm still not even convinced that that can be traced. Like in the chain of custody in a police event, you can only use evidence. If you can trace where it's been right back to the crime scene. When it comes to the shroud, there's questionable dating, and there's no way to trace it back within the first few centuries. So I'm just not persuaded by it. But if you know some good evidence for the shroud, I'd be happy to entertain it.
I'm gonna I mean, this guy's just talking slow, so I'm gonna speed it up. If it's too fast, just tell me to bump it back down.
So earlier we were talking about love.
Because honestly, I'm just really excited to get to the end of this and to get into the panel and talk to you guys.
You used the story of Jesus casting out the pigs, but he never sent them to the pigs. All he did was cast the demons out of the man, and they fled, feared Jesus into the pigs, and ran off the cliff. The story you told me it seemed like Jesus basically sent the demons to the pigs, killed them. So
following you, maybe it's because of that. Let me ask you very quickly. Do you believe Jesus is God?
He is the Son of God.
Yes or no? Is Jesus God? Did Jesus have cast out the demon without killing the thousands of pigs that man owned?
Yup.
Yes or no?
God has given.
Yes or
Yup.
no? Could Jesus have casted out those demons without killing the man's pigs? Yes or no?
You're limiting the question to two answers that aren't necessarily the only two answers.
No, actually, these are exclusive options. Either Jesus could have done it, or he could not have done it. There is no third option. Did Jesus have the power? Let me answer it for you. If Jesus is God, he can cast out demons without sending them into a bunch of pigs. Who agrees with that? Let me see your hands. If Jesus is God, he can cast out demons without sending them into pigs. Who agrees with that? Not very hard. And so given that he could have done something without harming the man's property, and he didn't, at least raise the questions of his loving actions towards that man. If you own those pigs, I think you felt very differently.
I mean, again, I'd love to hear an argument against that. You know, Job is such a perfect example for this idea of a loving God. I remember the first, because I was already an atheist the first time I read Job. I mean, I had gone through and I was reading and I was like, oh, this is a horrible, like, this isn't fun. This isn't nice. I don't know if you've ever actually read the Bible, but especially the Old Testament is fucking raw. Like, you think Euphoria is bad? Euphoria is like children's programming compared to what's in the Bible. But by the time I got to Job, I was like, yo, God really is going to fuck with this dude just because the devil poked at him. Sounds like some beta shit to me, but Douglas said the pigs were being used as sacrifices to demons, which actually caused Legion to become possessed. It's why he cast the demons back in them. I do not know this story very well. I gotta be honest. I do not know the story very well. She said, yes, I'd love to explain this point in Discord. So please remember this location about, I mean, you remember it. Write it down somewhere. What do you mean? I'm running a show. You want to talk about something? You remember it.
Flesh, he didn't cast them out. They saw Jesus and they knew who he was. They were afraid, they ran away. God has given living things free will, so he can't force them to do something.
Can he, though?
Sure he can. All right. He does it all the time when you read the scriptures. He forces demons out of people. He can kill a demon if he's God. He's God.
Does anybody disagree with that? Does anybody disagree with the notion that God could handle a demon in any way that he saw fit? That is true. That is also a sign of somebody who is strong in their convictions, able to point out, hey, well, I agree with this part, but not that part. Remember all the way back when we were talking about Sneeko's Red Pill Rage. And he was making fun of people who would look at like Andrew Tate and be like, well, I agree with some things he says, but not everything. That's what Sneeko was doing, making fun of that notion. It's like, yeah, bro, that's called using your brain. Regardless of what you believe, what you think, whatever. You shouldn't necessarily follow anybody blindly with everything they say. That is not a good way to navigate the world. So I definitely grant you that. Definitely grant you that, my good sir.
It's not that hard. Now, you're right. They recognized him, but that was at the beginning. At the end, he could have sent them anywhere. So if they were to go back into that man, could he have stopped them from going back into that man? Yes. And I think we answered your question.
You didn't answer the question about Jesus being loving. You just keep avoiding the questions people ask.
Wait, Jesus, I didn't answer the question about Jesus being loving?
No. We've asked you how you define love.
Was there a question? Is that what he asked? Am I stupid? We got to back this up. I don't think that's what he asked.
But you can't force them to do something.
Saw Jesus, and then he was afraid of them. Yeah, he was asking about the pigs. When was the question about him loving what?
Raise the question of his loving actions towards that man. If you own those pigs, I think you felt very differently.
The demon's flesh, he didn't cast.
You don't have to do shit, but if you got, I got a lot of shit going on. So if you want me to remember something, then yes, make a note of it. Come on.
He does it all the time when you read the scriptures. He forces demons out of people. He could kill a demon if he's God. He's God. It's not that hard. Now, you're right. They recognized him, but that was at the beginning. At the end, he could have sent them anywhere. So if they were going to go back into that man, could he have stopped them from going back into that man?
I know you don't know.
Yes. And I think you answered your question.
You didn't answer the question about Jesus being loving. You just keep avoiding the questions people ask.
Wait, Jesus, I didn't answer.
He directly answered the question that you asked. And the question you asked had nothing to do with love and Jesus. You just you didn't get an answer before when the girl did ask about it. But notice how defensive these people are getting. You guys are supposed to be the ones who have the truth. Why are you so defensive about it? If you're right, then just be right. Why do you have to be right and arrogant?
You have a question about Jesus being loving?
We've asked you how you define love, and all you did was tell us a mixed-up story about how Jesus cast out demons and stuff like that.
Okay, I'm not sure you were listening.
So, let me just get this real quick. Douglas said the issue is that the value being placed on the man's life takes precedence over the pigs, which you would think is obvious. Yeah, human values was the answer. Exactly.
She asked me how I define love, and I said, I don't define it by the Bible. I don't look to Jesus because of stories like this. And then I went on to explain how I know what it means to love somebody independently of the Bible. That was the point. So to love somebody is simply when you care about that person's emotional and physical and their life development. That's what it means to love somebody. I don't need an ancient Bible to tell me that. That's common sense. And I apply that in my relationship with my wife. So I did answer the question. You've asked a few. No, also. Let's go to someone else. Let's do one. Go.
Dude, I'm wondering because as a Christian, I base my morality in like objective beliefs by the ethics Jesus taught. So I'm wondering, as an atheist, what do you perceive right and wrong as? And if you judge it based on what you personally view as right and wrong, what gives you the right to punish criminals or people who commit genocide if they're acting upon their own will? What they perceive as right.
So who here remembers when we were talking about the moral landscape and how, just like chess, it's something that we made up. But the rules of chess are the rules of chess. They're not up for debate. I mean, they might have different types of rules, but you go to a particular tournament. The rules are the rules. Once we establish this game of chess, that this is the goal of the game, and this is the things that you can do within that game to try to win that game, then there are moves that are objectively, not subjectively, but objectively better than other moves. And what this kid is asking about is how that applies to morality. Or not, I mean, that's not what he's asking about specifically, but he's asking about how, where does he base his morality? Where does he get the right to say that criminals are wrong, so on and so forth? And I'm pretty sure he even references the moral landscape specifically. But again, as Sam Harris laid out in that book, when we're talking about morality, we're not talking about the spectrum that goes from the worst possible suffering imaginable to bettering human well-being, then what the fuck are we talking about? And so if that is what we're talking about when we're talking about morality, and that's the spectrum, then there are objective moves that you can make to get closer to human well-being and further away from suffering. Even if you believe that morality is ultimately subjective, once we agree that we do in fact want human well-being and flourishing to be the goal, then we have to acknowledge that there's objectivity within that belief system.
Okay, so I think I heard you. When I'm done, if I didn't answer, come back. The question is, how do I define morality and what gives me the right? I don't think I have the right. Morality is made by societal judgments as a whole, based upon what behavior brings flourishing and freedom for the society. I never said I'm an individual relativist who decides right and wrong. We can actually look at certain behavior. Sam Harris lays this out in his 2011 book, The Moral Landscape, that certain behavior contributes towards moral flourishing, and Some behavior takes it away. We can assess this. It's not opinion. It's actually fact.
So if it's based on what society deems right and wrong, like you're saying,
No, I didn't say that.
I
didn't say that.
I thought you just said it was based on what society deems right and wrong.
I never said that. I said I don't have the right to punish somebody.
okay.
Societies and governments have that right.
Have that right.
By the way, even if I were a Christian, I would believe that because of what Paul says in Romans 13. So it's not an individual assessment. Morality is determined by looking at human behavior and seeing its outcomes and flourishing or lack of flourishing with others. I'm not a societal relativist, even though society carries out that moral duty. Just like society gives us education, society has other roles and responsibilities.
Guys, if you have not liked the video yet, I am just a few likes away from 15. That would make my day. And I wasn't going to say anything about it, but I just purchased my new fume. It is just a wood thing with this little cotton thingy inside that has a flavor, and I'm trying to quit vaping. So there. Dear Fume, if you would like to sponsor this channel, I got it. All right, homeboy. Let's see what you
My
got.
question is that you keep saying that you're not sure if Jesus was real or not. Okay, so let's take out that part. And I just wanted to say, because the whole basis of Christianity is the resurrection. How would you, Shawn McDowell, disprove Christianity with your so-called evidence?
How would I disprove Christianity?
The resurrection, I mean.
Okay. So this stuff.
No, it's just like spice. There's no nicotine, no vape, no smoke. It's just a thing. Hey, we got Johnny Tsunami in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Johnny says, thought experiment. If you had a 16-year-old daughter who was getting ready to study abroad, would you rather her go to Kabul, Afghanistan, or Paris, France to study? Paris. I'm trying to see where you're going with this, but I'm trying to take my own advice, stop trying to win, and just answer the questions. And so I say Paris.
Fair question to one degree. Okay. The burden of proof is not on me to
Hey, what's
The
good?
burden of proof is on you to disprove every other religion who claims to have the truth. If somebody says Christianity is true, show us that it's true and give us the evidence for the resurrection. You see how burden of proof? I'll answer your question, but you see how the question's not on me to disprove it. The question is first on you to prove it if you want anyone to take it seriously.
That's the burden of proof. You make the claim, you have to prove it. Johnny says, why Paris? Just feels like it's probably going to be better situation than Afghanistan, but I don't really know. But little off topic, so I don't necessarily want to go too far down the road, especially because unless tomorrow is a really surprising day, I'm not going to have a 16-year-old daughter in the next 16 years. But thank you for being here, brother.
Now, growing up, I thought the Christian story was unique.
Yeah, we're talking about the this guy is an atheist philosophy professor from California coming to a Christian university and just doing a Q&A.
There was only a resurrection, I was told, in Christianity. But if you actually look at these ancient pagan mystery religions, Osiris, Adonis, Isis, Mithras, you find an incredible similarity. The same kind of details you find in the Christian story. So Mithras was born of a virgin. Mithras had 12 disciples, claimed to be God, was a teacher, and was resurrected on the third day. So she starts to look at the stories and the parallels in the Christian story and the lack of positive evidence. You start to realize this is just another mythological story that more people believe from the ancient world. That's a quick take. But go ahead, did you want to come back?
It's because there has when you come and you talk about these myths, it's just like you said it. These myths are just trying to explain natural phenomena. So I don't think that you could compare these myths to Christianity in that sense.
I don't like that's your opinion. There's just the similarities that I showed you. Why can't I compare them? Across these different religions, you find all of these common threads. Why can't I compare them? All right. Good question.
Exactly. You can't compare them because, like, I don't like it. So Douglas says, I am the proof once again. Proof of what? Proof of what? Christ and his spirit currently live in me, and I live in them. I'm sure that is not the evidence he is requiring, though. Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I could verify. I'm not saying that this is not true. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if I'm being intellectually honest, I cannot know that this is true. I cannot honestly know that this is true. And so if this is all that Christians can offer as a whole, is that, well, I feel a thing and like I can see it in my own mind's eye, and okay, but then leave me the fuck alone. Because you don't have anything that would convince anybody. So it's just a thing you like. And that's fine. But I don't have to like the things that you like. There was an atheist university. Do you think they're pretty much all atheist universities now? If there was an atheist university, do you think they would invite Prager to speak? No. I don't think any college would invite Prager to speak at this point. Johnny Sinani says, the reason you chose Paris is because we know something about human well-being, right? Yes. We know that the best way to raise a young woman is probably not by forcing them to wear a hijab. Let's see. He's going to say we cannot make moral judgments about the best or better way is insane. Agreed. Douglas says, so I'm curious as to what evidence he is wanting, and he can be me as well, because I think he and I would equally be convinced of, and the same way that, like, I don't just some type of empirical evidence that what these things are, or what these things that you're claiming are true. Some way to show that this happened, and therefore there is no other conclusion but God exists as described in the Christian Bible. I don't know what that is, because I don't, not you personally, but y'all made this fucking thing up. And now you're asking me how to prove it. I don't know. You made it up. When he dies, he dies. Oh, sure, I understand. Yeah. That's it. I want to know how I can verify. What is it that I could bring to another atheist that would convince them? Even if I believe you, what is it that I could bring to another atheist? Because the idea that, just your internal beliefs should be accepted by other people is nonsensical, because people believe crazy shit.
All right, so here's the deal. We're running out of time. So I'm going to take the last 15 minutes and tell you about what I really do.
All right. Anybody want to guess the twist? We got to the twist. Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess the twist? You've got 15 seconds before we play it. Let's see. Anybody? Douglas said, I understand. I personally never liked the idea of making people think like I do. I mean, I don't necessarily. I don't think those are the same thing. I like to try to get people to think the way I do, but not to force them to think the way I do. To convince them, like with consent, convince them. Like that's not a sentence. All right, nobody's gonna guess the twist. Last chance. No. All right.
I'm not a philosophy professor. I'm not an atheist. I actually teach at a Christian university in Southern California.
Who saw that coming? Boom! Just blew your fucking minds. Too late. No, I'll give you credit for that. It seemed like you kind of got that in there just in time. But yeah, that's the point here. This man doesn't even believe the things that he's talking about, but he understands what he does believe well enough to be able to do this. You guys are all up here telling him how, talking about how he's not making sense and he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that. And
a private school called Biola. And I teach at a private Christian school part-time as well, high school Bible. I am married to my high school sweetheart, first met her in third grade, so I'm not that guy. I do this a lot at different schools. Usually, I set people up and let them know I'm a Christian first. But where are you? Where are you, Mr. Stewart? Oh, he left. He's like, I'm out of here now that he's revealing the truth. Oh, there you are. We're like, let's just see what happens if we set them up and make them think that I'm an atheist first. See if that changes the nature of the dynamic. So, I'm a Christian. I'm actually an apologist. This is what I do. I've written, I don't know, 15 or 20 books. I teach apologetics at a graduate program at Biola University. I speak and I debate atheists and others because I think it's fun. How many of you honestly were like, I knew it? No, you were like 6 or 7 of you. All right. Okay. So here's the deal. We only have about 15 minutes to go, and then I got to let you go. I want to make you think about a few things. All right.
So before he goes into that, so this is sort of my point about being pro-religion, being a pro-religion atheist, and that here at this Christian university, they're engaging in conversations. And if it was Prager at an atheist university, they would shout him down. I don't disagree with you, but my my counterpoint would be that's not because of the lack of belief in God. That's because of political beliefs about what Christianity is. I agree with you. There are too many atheists who are the bad kind of atheists. There's too many of them. But they're there. And they're not going to be able to just accept things that are not true. They're not going to be able to accept things that they don't believe in, that you, general you, cannot convince them of. And so the point, again, comes back to taking the values that we care about and pushing the values we care about instead of the beliefs that we hold. It doesn't matter what you believe in if you uphold values that are kosher. The only time it matters what you actually believe in is when your beliefs dictate your values. Because then your beliefs dictate your actions. We just saw a couple weeks ago, the dude ran down a teenager because he thought he was a right-wing extremist. And he thought he was, I don't know if you saw the video of him getting questioned by the cops, but he thought he was going to get like a medal for this shit. After the fucking MAGA Biden or Ultra Biden, whatever the fuck, Ultra Dark Biden, whatever it was. After that speech, a grown man goes and runs down a teenager. Because everybody is so fucking concerned with what team they're on. Politically, on the right, it's religious people. You guys you have these ideas and these beliefs that overtake the values that, in my opinion, you should have. And then on the atheist side of it, these people have given up religion completely and just decided values, morals, who needs that? I just want to be happy right in this moment, right now. Both of those are not good positions. Both of those. Douglas said, I love that point. Thank you, sir. Johnny said, I am a pro-theist agnostic. Okay. The generational wisdom passed down through the religious stories is extremely important for any society or culture. I agree. Until we find a way to pass those values down to our progeny without religion, religion is needed. I wholeheartedly agree, Johnny. I wholeheartedly agree. That is why we need to find a way to pass down these values without religion. Because if you make the dichotomy of religion or heathen, then those roles will be filled. But if you create a middle ground, if you create a place that says, I don't believe in the supernatural, divine things that you're talking about, but I do believe in the values that you're espousing, then so many more of us would be on the same team. Yes, shouts to JT, Johnny Tsunami. Well done. Excuse me. Lito says religion is keeping people in check, so maybe don't get rid of it. This is the opposite. This is the opposite of the message. Religion is a band-aid. As we continue, as science continues, more and more and more and more and more of what is believed from the Bible will become it's already nonsensical, but it will become, you will not be able to escape the hypocrisies, the moral, go down the list. In 50 years, do we really think that religion is the only way we can get people to follow these values? And if so, then what do you do with people like me who genuinely want to be a good person, who genuinely want to move society forward? I genuinely want what is best for humanity, for my country, for all of that. And I've done everything I could for decades to have religion, to have a relationship with God. So what do you want to do with people like me who are willing to speak about these things and to support the values that you live by, the values that you want everyone to follow, just without the belief part? And then what do you do with the people who aren't even on my level? The people who just throw out all morality and everything. That is what you are guaranteed to have as long as you stick to religion. You are guaranteed, as long as religion is the only game for morality in town. That's it. Jimmy says you're right. The Bible's outdated. It's time for a sequel. Bible 2, Holy Boogaloo. Love it. Johnny Tsunami says Nietzsche talked about this a lot. He predicted the death of religion and that it would be replaced by political ideologies. That scared him. Scares the shit out of me too, especially because it's fucking happening. He thought that political ideologies were much more dangerous. Exactly. Much more dangerous than religion. Exactly. This is why we don't want people turning to fucking Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and Anthony Fauci as their popes. You're not getting them back in religion. That's not happening. That ship has sailed. So either these people are sucking off the whatever party they are following, whatever political party, or we work as a society to do better. Up to you guys. Yeah, because political ideologies offer low-resolution solutions without any of the wisdom. Yeah. Douglas said, oh, man, I'm all good with you, IndianJesus. Nice to be in your chat. Thanks for this. Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for making this conversation what it is. It's nothing without you guys. Vision Plus says, religion was and still is dangerous. Wars are an example. Yep. He's Jimmy Dean, Resident Sausage. Facts. All right, let's finish this up and then head to Discord for the panel. Tangelo, I didn't forget about you. We're going to make sure you've got everything and you can join us. But let's finish this up.
First off, don't answer this. Why don't you reflect in your heart a little bit, just personally? As a whole, how do you think you treated your atheist guests? There's probably a mix. I heard somebody shout out therapy. Okay. Now, I've done this. Youth groups of 12 students. I did this at a church in the Philippines with 8,000 students. I think that was too many, actually. And your response was pretty typical. In fact, a few of you, I was actually encouraged, tried to be like, hey, thanks for coming. Tried to be like, how do I ask this question in a cordial fashion, which I like. Okay? Here's the deal. The more I do this with people, here's how I find Christians respond. How many of you felt like maybe you're a little bit defensive, a little bit testy, a little bit upset? You can see it. I can see it in a lot of your eyes, by the way. Some of you are like, I'm ready for this guy to leave. Okay? Here's one reason why I'm convinced we get a little bit defensive. Part of it is if we don't know what we believe and why we believe it, and somebody starts challenging us, what happens? We get defensive, right? We get upset.
Absolutely. Is the link not below? Did I not put the link? Yeah, the link is there. So it says follow me on socials. It's got the thing, then the very one next down. It says the Indian Jesus Discord. Just click on that link, and you should be in the server. I don't know what's going on with Otangelo, but we are going to figure that out.
Do you understand why knowing what you believe is so important? Then we don't get threatened when people challenge our ideas. When somebody challenges my ideas, I don't get defensive. At least I try not to get defensive, because I know why I think Christianity is true. I've thought about it, and I think there's good answers for it.
So all this time, he was one of you. He was one of you. But you're so quick. You were so quick to jump down his throat and my throat. I don't know. Do with that what you will.
See, I'm a Christian for one reason alone. It's not because it makes me feel good. It's not because my parents are Christians. It's not because I teach at a Christian school. I'm a Christian because I actually think it's true. I actually think Christianity is true and best explains reality. If I didn't think it were true, I would give it up. So I think you should only be a Christian if you actually think that it's true. That's the best reason to be a Christian. Okay? Now, with that said, I was doing this event in Texas a number of years ago, and I spoke, and these students got really defensive and testy. This girl, kind of the back left middle, stands up and she goes, "Mister, I just want to read you something." I said, "Okay, what do you want to read?" She said, "It's from the Bible, the Holy Word of God." I said, "I'm an atheist. I don't believe the Bible." She goes, "I don't care. Listen up." She's going to be a great parent someday. She reads to me Psalms 14:1, which says, "The fool says in his heart, there is no God." I said, "So you're calling me a fool?" She goes, "You're a fool. The Bible says it. That settles it. I believe it." Sits down. Her friends jump up. They're like, "Woo, woo, woo. Got you, fool." And they start pointing at me. Well, when it was done, students surrounded me for a while because they had a ton of questions. And this girl waited till everybody was gone. And she came up to the front. She was 17 years old. And she goes, "Thank you for doing your best to defend atheism." I was like, "Sure. Why are you thanking me?" She goes, "Well, I'm an atheist." I said, "Really? You're at a Christian camp? That's great. You're here. How did you get here?" She said, "Well, I am a leader in my youth group." I said, "I feel like I'm missing something here." She said, "I grew up in the church. I can't remember if she went to a Christian school or not, Christian family. I've been told this stuff my whole life. I started to realize I have questions, and my parents and family, they just deflected my questions. I started to realize I don't believe this anymore." I said, "Well, have you told anyone?" She said, "You're the first person I told." I said, "Why haven't you told anyone else?" And I'll never forget what she said. She said, "Because I'm afraid they'll treat me like they just treated you." And I was like, I don't think we realize as Christians, the stories we tell, the attitudes we have, the jokes we laugh at, but it often communicates to people who are not believers. So I just want you to reflect upon this. I have no stake in this game. Maybe you don't believe in God, but if you are not a believer in God and you're watching this, what would your impression of Christians be? That's worth asking. Christians are thoughtful, they're patient, they're gracious, they love atheists, or would it be something else? I don't know the answer to that, but that's what I want you to think about. I was speaking at a conference in Duluth, Minnesota, and there were 1,500 students. I turned around to start my atheist role play because they knew I actually was a Christian. And this group of students go, "Boo, boo, go home, Mr. Atheist." And the youth pastor shouts out, "You're going to hell." Like he shouts it out. And so I went off script. I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute. I was called to share my atheist story. Like, why would you boo me?" And I started laying it into students. I said, "Wait a minute. Keep in mind, there's like 1,500 students." I said, "You think Jesus would boo an atheist pastor treated that way?" Jesus actually said to love your enemies. I said, "What about Paul? 1 Corinthians 13 says."
And of course, when I say that, I'm just I'm poking fun because obviously you guys did a fantastic job of holding this conversation, questioning me, and staying respectful, and so I very much appreciate that, guys, a lot.
If you speak in tongues or you speak words of prophecy, but you have not love, you have nothing. I mean, this statement was silent. It was proof there's a God because junior hire is the president. The next summer I was speaking, 1 or 2 summers later in Salt Lake City, And I turned around to start my atheist role play, and this group of students go, woohoo, we love you, Mr. Atheist. And that like took me by surprise. So afterwards, I was like, why were you cheering for the atheist? And they're like, well, we were part of the group that booed you in Minnesota. And instantly I thought, they got the point. They got the point. See, friends, when it comes to communication, there's two things. There's content, and then there's the way we communicate that content. There's the message and the medium. There's a truth to Christianity, but there's also a way we are supposed to communicate. Jesus came in grace, and he came in truth. You're supposed to speak the truth, but do it in love. Truth and love. What does our culture lack today? Grace, patience, kindness. You're growing up in an unbelievably divided culture where there is hate and vitriol across the political and religious aisle. What's going to set Christianity apart? Number one, Christianity is actually true. But number two, they will know you by your love. Proverbs says a soft word breaks a bone. Scripture says a gentle word turns away from
All right. Okay. All right.
Paul says it's your kindness that leads to repentance. Now, I realize with some of you, I was pushing buttons and twisting your words. I get that. I understand. As a whole, you ask some very thoughtful questions, which I love. And I think you're like trying to do this in a cordial relational way. So give yourself some grace on this. But instead of standing up here today and saying, hey, let's love our neighbors, I want to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. So you can ask yourself, how do I navigate conversation, online or offline? Do I just want to win an argument? Do I want to sound smart? Do I actually want to love somebody?
Do you want to win the conversation, or do you want to understand the question?
That's what Jesus says is the great commandment. Love God, love other people. I take my high school students every year on a trip, and we often go to Berkeley, California, which you might as well call Berkeley, one of the most places in the U.S. and beyond. And we do bring in atheists. We brought in gay activists. We brought in people with very different worldviews to speak to our students. And I tell my students, I'm like, ask them the best questions you can. We want to know the truth, but not to sound smart, not to win an argument, but do it in a way that shows love to somebody. Now we literally have 5 minutes. Are there one or two questions of things that I said? Don't ask me about Calvinism or Arminianism. Are there arguments that I made as an atheist that you want Christian Shawn to answer before I let you go? Meaning, is there anything the atheist said that made you think for a second, like you brought a prophecy?
Do you guys care about these questions? It's another like 10 minutes of him kind of just going over like the shroud thing. We can fuck it. That's not important. If you really care, then I'll just drop the link for the video itself. You can watch the entire thing. Which we basically just did. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm just gonna. Oh, for fuck's sake. All right, if you care that much, that is so that was the twist, guys. That was the twist. The whole time he was one of y'all. So what I'm really interested to hear from you guys when we go to the panel is 2 things. You know, what about the particulars of what we talked about? Did make sense, didn't make sense, all of that. And then how did you feel about the twist? How did you feel about finding out like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming? Or did you see it coming? I don't know. I think that it was it was a really cool experiment, a social experiment, to show, not just to have that conversation, but to have it in that context where you have a believer who is very well versed and he's able to have the conversation as an atheist, even though he isn't one. So yeah, just gotta think more about who's on your team. What are the teams? Who is on your team? Is it the people who call themselves the same thing you are? Or is it more the people who are willing to find the same solutions that you are, to get society, life, whatever, to the same place that you are? I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really, really fucking love doing this with you guys. And there's nothing else like it. But the party is not over. The party rages on. That link is in the description for the Discord. You just got to join. It is free, and we will be in the voice channel. So I see everybody leaving. They might be going there right now. That's where we will continue this conversation. Also, in the description, you guys know the channel is not yet monetized, but I put a lot of my heart and soul and money into this. So if you would like to help me out, you can hit me up on Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Bitcoin, all that stuff. Is, it's right here on the screen. There's also the Bitcoin address in the description. But you don't have to do that. Your time here with me is so valuable. Thank you, Douglas. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you guys coming here, hanging out, having the conversation so much. So even if you don't want to drop a dime, the fact that you've spent time here is amazing to me. Plus, it is absolutely free to like, to comment, to subscribe and ring the bell. It's free to share this video. It is absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a dime to take the URL. You guys know how the notification system is bullshit on YouTube. We're trying to grow this. We're trying to turn this into a fucking party every other night. And for that, I need your guys' help. So take that URL, put it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of those things. And just say, hey, check this out. That would be amazing. But even if you don't want to do any of that, and all you want to do is sit at home and think about how amazing I am and how awesome this show is, you can do that too. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for the party. I am your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, I am out of here. Join me in Discord. Peace.